Good evening, everyone. I am Allison Singleton. I am a fine arts instructional specialist for EBR, and I am overseeing drama, graphic, and media arts programs here in the district. Today, we have a special treat. We have fifth grade students from Forest Heights Academy of Excellence, and they are going to be performing a piece from their upcoming production, The Wiz Jr., under the direction of their teacher, Miss Candace Thomas. The production will be on May 12th at Glen Oaks High School. So be sure to check them out in this upcoming feature. You guys ready? All right.
Are you? I am. I am. You're not I am. Not unless I'm having an out-of-body experience. Where am I? In the land of Oz, where the Munchkins live. Look, she set the house down on all even me. Is she dead? Yeah, and I don't think she's gonna like it very much. Congratulations. You just killed the Wicked Witch of the East. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to kill nobody. What's going on around here? Pearl, who are you? The Good Witch of the North. The Good Witch of the North? Maybe you know me better by my stage name, Ada Pearl, the feel-good girl. Your stage name? Yes, I have a magic act. I do tricks. Ada Pearl, look, this child here, she done gonna set that house down on your sister, even me. That is though, even me, ain't it? Oh my God. Oh, I'd know those tacky pantyhose of hers anywhere. That means there's only 3 witches left in Oz. Me, the Good Witch of the North. My sister Glenda, the Good Witch of the South. You want to see her ex, honey. And then there's Evelyn. Evelyn? The Wicked Witch of the West. You better watch out for her. She's a real downer. Now, listen to the business, honey. What's your name, child? Well, my name is Dorothy. Can you help me get back home to Kansas? Kansas? Oh, no. I don't think so. That comes under the heading of transporting a minor across state lines. Maybe you better go to the Emerald City and see the Wiz. Yeah, I bet he could do it. Sure, he must have 3 or 4 miracles left. Dorothy, you gotta go see the Wiz. Who? He's the Wiz. He lives in us. He's the anyone who can give your wish right to you. He's the Wiz. He can send you back in time by running magic through you. All of the superpowers his. Da, 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 da. Within, and I tell you where he is. He's the Wiz and he lives in us. He's the Wiz. To the Emerald City, now that's not too far, is it? He's the Wiz. Just take your darling, my child, and lay it on the wizard. He'll fix you a drink that'll bubble and foam. And in a flash, you'll be home. He's the Wiz, and he lives in us. He's the yeah. But before you go, maybe you ought to take Eva Means gold slippers. Gold slippers? Here, I hope you don't mind secondhand shoes. I never had a pair this beautiful. But you gotta promise not to take them off until you get home. Okay, I promise. But why? 'Cause they really got some secret powers. To do what? I can't tell you. That's the secret. Well, they shouldn't do much for even me. The secret powers only work when the right person's wearing them. Am I the right person? I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Well, they're just my size anyway.
And these kisses will protect you wherever you go.
Please come with me.
I'd like to, but I've got a gig.
But I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
That's all a part of growing up, honey. And now, with the wave of my wanga, I'm gonna disappear on you. Watch this one. I just wave this thing 3 or 4 times and never increasing. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's wrong with this thing? Trouble is, honey, I ain't been disappearing much lately. I've been taking the bus. Talk to you later.
Ibuprofen. Done it again, y'all. But she didn't tell me to wait to the Emerald City.
Oh, darling.
You can't miss it.
I can't?
No!
See that road of yellow bricks?
Right.
Just follow that for 2 days now.
Right. But watch out for a lot of spooky things. Like what?
Beware of those awful collider people.
Watch out for those terrible flying monkeys.
And most of all, watch out for the old Wicked Witch of the West.
Evelyn!
Outside of that, have a nice day.
Here I am in a different place, in a different time, in this time and space, but I don't wanna be here. I was told I must see the wiz, but I do not know what a wizard is. I just hope the wiz is there. Maybe I'm just going crazy. Let myself get tired. I'm acting just like a baby, but I'm gonna be alright. Soon as I get home, soon as I get
Now go ahead and take a bow. And once again, we have Forest Heights Academy of Excellence 5th grade drama students. Make sure you guys reach out to the principal, Ms. Breckenridge. They will be selling tickets for their production on May 12th, which will be at the Glen Oaks High School auditorium. Y'all go check them out. Support. Great job. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order this public hearing of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board for Thursday, March 17th, 2022. I'd like to read a few notices, please. The public will be allowed to attend at a reduced capacity that complies with CDC guidelines on social distancing. Once the capacity has been reached, admission into the meeting space will be closed. Mask wearing is optional. All audience members are encouraged to adhere to CDC guidelines on social distancing. The public hearing scheduled for March 17th, 2022 at 5 p.m. will be streamed live via YouTube. The link to watch the meeting can also be found on board docs or on the school's website. A period for public written comment will be provided before the meeting as well as before each action is taken by the board on an action item. Individuals wishing to make a public comment about any of the posted action items will need to click on the agenda item in board docs and submit via the highlighted public comment hyperlink on the agenda item details. Online comments are available for public review. Like to open the meeting and be led in an invocation by Board Member Ware Jackson, and then we will have our Sergeant First Class Harrison will introduce our cadet to say the pledge. So please rise.
Father, we thank you for your guidance and grace. Lord, we thank you for continued favor over our school system. We ask you to protect and bless our students, our parents, teachers, administrators, our superintendent and board members. Lord, we bind up sickness and disease and division. We bind up spirits of fear, greed, and deception from every good work in this district. Father, make every crooked path straight according to your word. We thank you in advance for providing clarity and guidance on every item, for divine wisdom and understanding of our unique responsibility to the public. We thank you for truth and unity in the body of this board, and as we make decisions in the best interest of the entire school district. Then, Lord, we ask that you cover us all in safe travels home. In the precious name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Good evening.
Board members, Dr. Darcease, fellow citizen of East Baton Rouge Parish, it's my honor and privilege to introduce a great American. He's a freshman at Broadmoor High School and will soon complete his first year of JROTC as a cadet. He is the Broadmoor Cadet of the Year amongst first-year cadets. He has a grade point average of 3.3. He's a model cadet who's taken on the challenge of living up to the JROTC Cadet Creed. Following graduation, Cadet Lee plans to attend Tulane University in New Orleans, Louisiana as a pre-med student. He's the son of Vaughn and Q Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, here to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America, I present to you with great pride, Cadet Private First Class David Lee.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait, just 1 second. No, not y'all.
Superintendent Boyd, thank you for your leadership.
Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
District 9, President Tapman.
Present.
District 4, Vice President Collins. District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis. District 3, Mr. Howard.
Present.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Here.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Present.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Present.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Present.
We have a quorum. We move now to item C1, to hear public comments on the following adjusted millage rates for the tax year 2022. Set forth the adjusted millage rates after reassessment and rolling forward to rates not to exceed the prior year's maximum millage rate for tax year 2022. I'm going to take a second to make sure we're all signed in to board docs. Not that we have to vote, but I just want to make sure we are. Yeah. Are there any, seeing no board comments, are there any public comments on the roll forward of the millage rates? Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. Narcisse. Tonight, we're going to discuss setting the millage rates. The voters approved a total property tax millage of 43.45 mils to support the district. The tax assessor reassesses the parish property every 4 years. The most recent assessment was in 2020. Once a reassessment occurs, the board decides if they would like to maintain current tax collections and reduce the mills, or they may decide to roll forward the millage. This maintains the 43.45 mils in EBR, but will increase collections since the property value has increased. In 2019, the district collected property taxes at the 43.25 mils rate. The board decided to roll forward the millage after the 2016 reassessment. After the 2020 reassessment, the board chose to maintain the property tax collections and not roll forward the millage. In 2021, the district maintained the 41.25 mils as in the previous year. For 2022, we are requesting approval to roll forward the millage to the previous 43.25 millage rate. As stated earlier, the millage has been maintained at 41.25 for both fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021. Looking at the districts in comparison in our area, Zachary is at 79.2, Ascension is at 61.6, Central is at 56.6, and Baker City is at 42. The property tax collections over the past 3 years have steadily increased. In 2019, we saw collections of $172.1 million. In 2020, we saw $176.8 million. And in 2021, we saw collections of $179.3 million. The rolling forward of the millage will increase collections by approximately $9 million, or 5%. Property taxes make up approximately 48% of all local revenue collections. And of the $9 million in additional collections, 25% will go to fund the local revenues for our Type 1, Type 2, and Type 5 charter schools. Property taxes are a sustainable source of income for the district that can be used to sustain any new district initiatives. The approval process requires 2 separate votes. The first resolution will maintain us at 41.25 mils and allows the tax assessor to put us on the tax roll for next year. This resolution is required each year to continue our property tax collections and requires a simple majority vote. Resolution 2 will roll forward the millage and increase the mills to 43.45. It requires a 2/3 vote of the board. Each of these resolutions must be read into the board minutes, and a vote must be taken for each individual one. Okay, any questions?
I don't see any from the board. Okay, so Mr. Gode has a question.
One quick question. Net to the school district after the takeout for the charters would be a little bit over $6 million. And we talk about salary increases. So how many employees approximately do we have in the district?
About 6,000.
About 6,000. So if my math is correct, as we look at new salary curves and all the things, that would be roughly $1,000 per employee.
$1,125, yes.
Okay. Thank you very well. $1,000 plus benefits.
Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That would do that.
Add that 30% in.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to have that benchmark because it sounds like a lot of money, but when you divide it amongst the employees, it's not that much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gode. Ms. Dyson.
Thank you for this presentation. I did appreciate the surrounding parish millages and that comparison. Very thankful that you thought to include that. I'm not one that typically, let's just say I roll taxes forward with a lot of thinking about this, and I don't take it lightly. And I know that, we're having hard times with our economy and inflation and all of those things. But in this situation, I am very hopeful that if we choose to go ahead and roll forward, that, and I know we're in the process of a 90-day turnaround time on a compensation study, and I am looking very, very forward to the day when we can look at all of our teachers and other certificated employees on school site, because I feel like we're falling behind. We're trending behind. And I wanted to ask, what is our salary for a first time right out of college with a bachelor's?
I would not even venture to say that. I would ask either Ms. Hall or Ms. Williams.
Is
46.5.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that we're moving in an upward direction on that, and also for retention, so through the steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Dyson. Seeing no other questions from board members, we'll take public comment. Anyone wish to comment on the roll forward millage? Seeing none, we will, I guess we adjourn, huh? Ms. Bernard makes a motion to adjourn the public hearing. She was jumping up and down. All right. Miss Armand. Just want to make sure we get everybody logged into the next meeting if we can. Log into the next meeting if you have not yet already. If you can, I think we might have to wait for Miss Armand to get that done, but. Want to start the next meeting so we can do the login. And, yeah, got it. Yep. Think so. I'd like to call to order the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board regular meeting for Thursday, March 17th, 2022 at 5 p.m. I'd like to read notices. The public will be allowed to attend at a reduced capacity that complies with CDC guidelines on social distancing. Once the capacity has been reached, admission into the meeting space will be closed. Mask wearing is optional. All audience members are encouraged to adhere to CDC guidelines on social distancing. The regular meeting scheduled for March 17th, 2022, immediately following the public hearing, will be streamed live via YouTube. The link to watch the meeting can also be found on board docs or on the school board's website. A period for written public comment will be provided before the meeting, as well as for each action that is taken by the board on each action item. Individuals wishing to make public comment about any posted action items will need to click on the agenda item in board docs and submit via the highlighted public comment hyperlink on the agenda item details. Online comments are available for public review. I would like to call this meeting to order and ask Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
District 9, President Tapman.
Present.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Present.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Here.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Present.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Present.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Present.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Here.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Present.
We have a quorum. Move to item C1. Approval of the school board minutes for February 17th, 2022, regular board meeting, March 3rd, 2022, special board meeting, and March 3rd, 2022, committee of the whole meeting is published in the official journal. Moved by Ms. Bernard and seconded by Mr. Gode. Seeing no comments from board members, are there any comments from the audience on the approval of the minutes? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote.
You want to just go to do a roll call?
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Yes.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Yes.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Yay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Yes.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Yes.
District 9, President Tatman.
Yay.
Motion carries.
Minutes are approved. We move now to recognitions. D1, recognition of Black History Month Writing Contest winner, Kayla Cruz of Westdale Middle. Mr. Brickhouse.
Good evening, Mr. President Tatman, Vice President Collins, school board members, community members, school system employees, and parents. It is indeed a pleasure to introduce to you a sixth grader at Westdale Middle School, the Spanish immersion of Miss Kaylee Cruz. The Spanish immersion magnet student enjoys reading, playing on her phone, and competing in gymnastics with her teammates from LA Gold. She is headed to the state gymnastics meet on the 27th of March. Her two favorite subjects in school are English and aquaponics. Yes, aquaponics. Kaylee participated in the Black History Month writing contest at Westdale Middle School in February. Her award-winning piece entitled My Wish for a Better Tomorrow captivated readers with the hope and dream of a young lady who sees racial injustice as cruel and unnecessary. Her words seem to jump off the page and grab the attention and the heart of others. Kaylee expresses how the world can achieve a better tomorrow through love, respect, and fairness. Without further ado, we'd like to introduce to you Miss Kaylee Cruz. She's going to read her essay.
My wish is for a better tomorrow. Personally, I'm not Black or African American, but I know many people who are. In fact, some of my closest friends are Black. I've never been through struggles because of my race, but I do know of several people who have. On the news, there have been stories of cops being against African Americans. I have heard of people being killed and hurt because of the color of their skin. I don't understand why people can be so mean to other people. At the end of the day, we're all human and we all have feelings, so it doesn't matter what you look like. People of any shape, size, and color should be treated equally. Just because you have a different origin or color of skin doesn't mean you should be treated a different way. So how do we change? We can put ourselves in their shoes. We can treat African Americans the same way you would treat anyone else, with respect and love. I really hope that these people change. These are my wishes for a better tomorrow.
Congratulations, Kaylee. On behalf of the school board and our superintendent, I want to give you this little medal. Continue writing. It's a wonderful talent. Nurture it. Thank you, darling.
We move to item D2, recognition of EBR teachers for completion of the LDOE Mentor Teacher Program certification. Ms. Hall.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sabrina Jackson. I'm one of the professional development specialists in the Office of Human Resources. And tonight we'll be recognizing our Louisiana State Certified Mentors. So these individuals have utilized their knowledge and skills to effectively coach and support new teachers and resident students. So the following individuals will come up as I call their names. Amy Sylvester, Brownsville Elementary School. Sanithia Shamala, Tara High School. Rebecca Holloway, Park Forest Middle School. Tana Boudreau, Park Forest Middle School. Nivea Filks, McKinley Middle Magnet School. So we have others that could not make it tonight, but I would like to tell you ladies, thank you for the hard work that you have put in for helping our students and in strengthening our families in the district. Your work is greatly appreciated. And I would also like to mention the name of the individuals that could not make it tonight. Miss Chris Diana Morgan from Goodwood Center. Shakia Davis, Parkview Elementary. December Johnson, Highland Elementary. Charlotte Davis, Cedar Crest Sophomore Elementary School. Timothy Spruill, Woodlawn High School. Tracy Goff, University Terrace Elementary School. Shawana Franklin, Winborn Elementary School. Ashley Murphy, Liberty High School. Alberta Thomas, Capitol Middle School. And Lisa Sterling Nichols, Scotlandville High School. Thank you.
We move now to item D3, recognition of the East Baton Rouge Parish School System's Magnet Schools of America Award winners. There you are. I figured you were coming. Thank you, Ms. Porter.
You're welcome. So good afternoon, President Tapman, Madam Vice President Collins, Superintendent Narcisse, and members of the board. It is my pleasure to introduce our Magnet Schools of America 2022 Merit Award winners. These schools were recognized and selected based on exemplary commitment to academic excellence, curriculum innovation, diversity efforts, specialized instruction, and parent and community engagement. So beginning with the schools of distinction, Belfair Montessori is our first awardee. Accepting the award on behalf of Principal Jackson's Assistant Principal Pamela Dunlap, Magnet Site Coordinator Claudia Brown. Next, Baton Rouge Center Visual for Performing Arts. Principal Dr. Lewis Moore, Magnet Site Coordinator Sydney EBR. Mayfair Laboratory is our next school. Principal Kyle Fontenette, Magnet Site Coordinator Emily Hand. McKinley Middle Magnet, Principal Dr. Tanjalia Rowan, Magnet Site Coordinator Elizabeth Thomas. Woodlawn Middle, Principal Raquel Brown, Magnet Site Coordinator Rainer Spurlock. And that concludes the schools of distinction. We'll take a picture. I suppose y'all want me in the picture? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. My vertically challenged friends in the front. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Our next group of awardees are Schools of Excellence. The Dufrock School is our first awardee. Principal Ariane St. Julian, Magna Site Coordinator Noah Mills. Welcome. Next, Westdale Heights, also known as WHAM. Principal Alicia Kavanaugh, Magna Site Coordinator Genevieve Moss. You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Last but not least, Baton Rouge Magnet High School. Principal Nan McCann, Magna Site Coordinator Bridget Fortenberry. And that concludes the Schools of Excellence for 2022. Next, we recognize our National Magnet School Teacher of the Year for Region 5, which includes Texas, of course, Louisiana, Colorado, Mississippi, New Mexico, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And this award goes to Maria Sigil Delgado from Baton Rouge Flame.
Thank you. Thank you.
She will vie for a national award with 7 other teachers nationally for the National Teacher of the Year at the conference in April. Awesome. Awesome. This concludes the Merit Awards for 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Thank you very much. We move to item D4, recognition of elementary, middle, high school councils of the year and newcomer of the year. Ms. Brazier.
Good evening, President Tapman, Vice President Collins, board members, and Superintendent Narcisse. I am Tirza Fernandez Brazier, Director of Counseling, and I am honored this evening to recognize the East Baton Rouge Parish School System's 2021-22 School Counselors of the Year. The nominations are broken into 4 categories, which are Elementary Counselor of the Year, Middle School Counselor of the Year, and High School Counselor of the Year, and one added category, Newcomer of the Year, for the counselor with less than 3 years as a school counselor. So, it is my pleasure that I present to you the Elementary School Counselor of the Year. The Elementary School Counselor of the Year is Miss LaShonda Davis from Wedgwood Elementary School. Miss Davis has been a school counselor for 5 years and 8 years in the district. Her certifications include school counselor K through 12, reading specialist, elementary education 1 through 5, early childhood education pre-K, and affiliate marketer and app developer. A Southern University alumna and a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. She was recognized by Amazon Associates for her affiliate marketing success. LaShonda created Educator Supply Plug, a Facebook group with over 12,000 members, and launched a mobile app to help educators locate affordable classroom supplies amid the global pandemic. I present to you, y'all, my school counselor, Miss LaShonda Davis. Our middle school counselor of the year is Ms. Shannon Ashley Johnson. Ms. Ashley Johnson is a school counselor at Belfair Montessori School. However, her administrative staff, she is on an ILT professional development today. So she could not be here, but she does have 9 years as a school counselor and 19 years in the school district. Her certifications include school counseling and mathematics 6 through 11. So we'd like to say, if she's watching, congratulations to Mrs. Shannon Ashley Johnson, Belfair Montessori School. Thank you. Next, I am pleased to introduce our high school counselor of the year, Miss Danielle Duval. Miss Danielle Duval is a school counselor at Liberty Magnet High School. She has been a school counselor for 5 years, and she has served 5 years in the district. Her certifications include ancillary school counseling certification, both degrees earned at Southern University, a BS in psychology, and a Master's of Arts in mental health counseling. It is immensely important to her to be an effective, competent school counselor that is beneficial to the world with helping individuals maintain a congruent state of mind and matriculate through high school while watching her students grow and develop throughout the process. Congratulations, Ms. Duval. And last but certainly not least, we have Newcomer Counselor of the Year, Miss Kayla Lewis. Miss Kayla Lewis is a newcomer school counselor at Woodlawn High School. Years as a school counselor, this is her very first year, so like 7 months as a school counselor. And she is phenomenal. Her years in the district, 2. She holds National Certified Counselor as a certification, and she is certified in chemistry, biology, and algebra 1. Sorry, y'all can't have her back. I can present to you our newcomer counselor of the year, Miss Kayla Lewis. So all of our school counselors will now move on. They have been nominated for the Louisiana Counselor of the Year award with LCA. So we will just stay tuned, and we will hopefully come out victorious.
last time.
I will read the next item in. Okay. We now move to item D5, recognition of Sunrise Rotarians with the Good Fellows Good Samaritan organization provides clothing, books, and age, gender-appropriate gifts for selected children 12 and under at our elementary schools during the holiday. Ms. Brazier.
Thank you again. Good evening again, Board President Tatman, Vice President Collins, board members, and Superintendent Narcisse. I have the distinct pleasure of recognizing the Sunrise Rotarians, Good Fellows, Good Samaritans. In December, hundreds of students and families throughout our school district received Christmas gifts to include toys, books, and warm-ups from the Good Fellows, Good Samaritans. Good Fellows, Good Samaritans have provided the students and families of East Baton Rouge Parish School System Christmas gifts for more than 27 years. We look forward to their continued generosity and acts of kindness. I'd like to call up Mr. Steve Huggins and Mr. Barry Meyer.
President Tatman, Superintendent Narcisse, and the board members, we truly appreciate the recognition. We're not the ones that really need to be recognized. It's Tirza and her staff and all the counselors who have helped us throughout the years. And we've been doing this with the East Baton Rouge Parish School System since the mid-'70s. We've been in existence since 1914 doing this. We would love to be able to supply every child in the school with something, but we're, with the funds that and the resources we have, we're limited on what we can do. But we thank y'all so much and truly thank you for all that you do for us. Thank you. Barry?
Well, just to add to what Steve said, it's our pleasure, our distinct pleasure, to share the joy of Christmas with the kids. And we, unfortunately, those kids that are the most neediest in all the schools. And it's those counselors that help identify those kids. And in a very meaningful way, in a very subtle way, they're given an opportunity to have the joy of Christmas on Christmas morning, thanks to your support.
Thank you.
As well. Thank you to give us a great partner. We'll see you. Appreciate it.
Thank you both very much. We move now to item D6, recognition of Go Cairo for their partnership with East Baton Rouge Parish School System's Wellness Warrior Program. Ms. Hall. Oh, right on cue.
I try my best. Good afternoon/evening, President Tatman, Vice President Collins, board members, Superintendent, Dr. Narcisse. I had it written this time. It is my pleasure to call up Go Cairo Chiropractic and Health. There he is. How you doing, Doc? All right. So I do have a little spiel first. So it is very important that people feel appreciated, right? It makes them feel happy, feel valued, and it drives them to do their best. And as a form of appreciation, each year, Go Cairo provides schools with a free 10-minute massage, hallelujah, to administrative and school sites during their break times through their Pamper a Teacher program. This school year, Go Cairo has teamed up with the East Baton Rouge Parish School System, Office of Human Resources, to provide wellness breaks for each one of our employees at our different sites. This is a tremendous way that Go Cairo shows many thanks to the work that employees do. The Office of Human Resources, East Baton Rouge Parish School System, we're honored to thank you, Dr. Johnson, and your team for providing wellness throughout the East Baton Rouge Parish School System and supporting our employees. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate you.
Turn
Thank you all. Thank you, Dr.
It was your medal. All right, thank you so much. We move now to item D7, recognition of VIPS partners in education for the month of March. Ms. Simmons. Yeah, all right, Mr. Howard's going to do a presentation of the superintendent's medal. There you go. Get an extra round of applause. Ms. Simmons.
Hi, greetings, everyone. President Tapman, Vice President Collins, Superintendent Narcisse, and all members of the school board. We are pleased to be here once again to introduce another phenomenal partnership in our community that we are so excited about. This is an exemplary partnership, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because we serve East Baton Rouge Parish EBR Readiness High School. We have Principal Shawanda Johnson here as well. If anyone is familiar with these alternative schools, a lot of times the student body feels discarded, overlooked. This is a unique population of students, and if anyone knows anything about VIPS, we strive to meet the needs of all of our East Baton Rouge Parish public schools. So this partnership is very important to us. Meant to Fit is a very unique organization. Also, they're very grassroots. They understand where these students are coming from as far as the communities that they come from. They are from the same neighborhoods and communities that are most in need in Baton Rouge, specifically East Baton Rouge. And so the relatability is there when they connect with the students, and we appreciate that so much. With the initial partnership introduction, we had a meeting with Meant to Fit and Miss Johnson. The communication, the connection was just honestly very magical. It was a perfect fit, and that is our goal, to bridge the gap between the community and East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools, especially with such a unique school and a unique organization such as Meant to Fit. And we will give them opportunity to say a couple of words. So we do have Ms. Katasha and Daryl Jackson and Tommy Manning and Ms. Shawanda Johnson as the principal of EBR Readiness. Let's give them a hand clap. Meant to Fit serves public schools, and they also have a lot of community initiatives, but they have chosen to partner with VIPS to bring their services into the East Baton Rouge Parish public school system. And they do that through active activity, and they mentor and have very profound conversations and dialogue with the students, but also keep them moving, and they tie in life lessons with the activities that they bring to the students. They also do their own initiatives. They just take the reins and do their thing. They did a wonderful Christmas holiday party for the students. And again, these group of students often feel discarded because they are at an alternative school. And so for them to take the initiative to decide that they are still special and they deserve some celebratory moment is just phenomenal. I can't speak enough about them clearly. So I would love for one of Meant to Fit representatives to come and say a few words, and then Ms. Johnson.
They told me to keep it short. I'm gonna keep it short. Hey, how y'all doing today? Thank y'all so much, everybody. We definitely appreciate this. I have my best friend and brother, Tommy, my wife, Tasha. We've been married for 20 years. We from the community. We definitely appreciate the principal opening up her arms and giving us leeway to anything that we've been doing. We've been doing this now since 2018. We've been doing it for a number of years, but Meant to Fit, with the mind, body, and soul of the young person everything being healthy and being taken care of. We try to hit every aspect of the young person, letting them know that they're still worth whatever, regardless of what's going on, what's taking place, or what decision they made in their life. It still doesn't define where they're going to be, because we're living proof of that. We're from those same communities. We also, I don't know if y'all see all of the tires when y'all drive down Acadian. Y'all see a whole bunch of tires that was put out about a year ago. That's actually our lot that we take out. We put it right there in the community because we didn't see anything in the community for the young people to do. They say we need to find something for them to do, but it was nothing to do. So he and we went and found a whole bunch of tires in the community. We got kids that actually help clean up the community with the tires, because anybody been to 7805, y'all see tires all over the place. So that was something that we was able to do, get the tires. We actually have a go-kart track that's actually on there that we built for the community. It's a go-kart track there. We put a boxing ring there because we have another initiative called Guns Down, Glove Up that we do, where we use life skills in boxing and everything, and different coping skills. So we do that on the lot where they can also come and play basketball. We have flag football, and just some things for them to be able to do in the community. And we're able to bring that to the schools as well. And we definitely appreciate all of y'all's support and everything. And we definitely love Principal Johnson and VIPS and everything that they've allowed us to do. We love y'all and thank you all. Was that short enough?
To have Ms. Johnson just say a couple of words also. We can't even place them at any other schools because the EBR Readiness owns them. They come every week faithfully. One of our most consistent and strongest partnerships. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening. I'm gonna keep this short. Ms. Simmons, I just want to say thank you. I have been trying to get a VIPS partner for years. And so when they entered my building, I was a little apprehensive. I was like, okay, we're going to have this meeting and they're going to turn me down. But this has been a match made in heaven. My kids, they come every Thursday. My kids, we have to separate them into an A and B rotation. And just today, when their names are being called, they come running to the gym. Is it my time? I didn't hear my name being called. And I'm just like, wait, you're going to have your turn. But I just want to say thank you to both Mr. Jackson and Mr. Manning. You have really touched the lives of the students that are at my school. Your presence every Thursday is phenomenal. And so I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, as well as for my students. You're a positive role model, and I hope that we can continue this partnership for free. So thank you.
Yes, I would just like to say on behalf of the board and the superintendent, thank you very, very much. The outstanding community spirit that you show, that's what really helps us set us apart. And you're handling and working with the kids who are the most need. So we really appreciate you stepping up from the community to help us in this task. So thank you very much. Thank you all very much.
We move now to item D8, consideration of a request for the adoption of a resolution proclaiming March 2022 as Arts in Our Schools Month. Mr. Lannis.
Thank you, President Tapman. East Baton Rouge Parish School System proclamation in support of Arts in Our Schools Month. Whereas March has been designated the National Dance Education Organization Dance in Our Schools Month by the National Association for Music Education, as Music in Our Schools Month by the National Theater Association as Theater in Our Schools Month, and by the Council for Arts Education as Youth Art Month. And whereas arts education in East Baton Rouge Parish Schools includes 4 separate and distinct disciplines: dance, music, theater arts, and visual arts, each with its own body of knowledge and skills, whereas the arts have been a part of life from the very beginning, are an inseparable part of human journey, describing, defining, and deepening the human experience. And whereas the arts are everywhere in our lives, adding depth and dimension to the environment we live in and shaping our experience daily. And whereas students participating in arts education courses benefit from the skills and processes developed through the arts and apply those skills in a variety of disciplines and settings, no matter their intended career path. And whereas arts education contributes to students' development through heightened skills and listening, understanding human experiences, creative problem solving, adapting to and respecting others' diverse ways of thinking, communicating effectively, as well as analyzing nonverbal communication, reading, self-expression, imagination of humankind, creativity. And whereas arts education innovatively ignites and engages learners personally and enhances the social and emotional morale, as well as the quality of all students and all school cultures by helping develop self-confidence, boosting self-reliance, and increase empathy and compassion towards oneself and others. And whereas arts education is essential for all students in EBR as part of a well-rounded education. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board does hereby proclaim March 2022 as Arts in Our Schools Month and urges all citizens to celebrate and acknowledge every day, but especially in March, the arts education is an essential part of every student's education in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. I so move.
Moved by Mr. Lannis, seconded by Mr. Goday. Ms. Collins.
I just wanted to say I especially appreciate this resolution and its recognition. I think people totally underestimate the power of arts in schools. There's a book I read called The Originals by Adam Grant, and he had done research on Nobel Prize winning scientists and analyzed their exposure or participation rather in the arts. And you can see he showed a very strong correlation in the likelihood of a scientist being a Nobel Prize winning scientist based on not just that they did art, but even what type of art they participated in. And so we need more arts in our schools. It impacts not just the creativity, but it translates into the academic gains as well. And so I'm especially appreciative of us recognizing arts in our schools. Thank you.
Collins. Ms. Ware-Jackson.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this every year because, I've done a lot of work with kids, and it's wonderful when you can see how the arts makes other parts of their lives just light up. The way that music enhances math, and there's just so many things that we sort of take for granted. And it really does help improve our children and help them to become very comfortable in their own skin, and that's so important. So I appreciate that, and I just want to tell all the artists how much I just love y'all. I wish I had the talent myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ware-Jackson. Seeing no other comments from the board, we go to the audience. Any comments from the audience on the resolution? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Thank you. I'm going to do a point of personal privilege. We didn't get a picture with Mr. Go Cairo over there. You did that? Okay, I'm sorry. So you got triple recognition. But really, thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry we missed you the first time. We move now to item E1, E, information only. E1, monthly financial report. Personnel changes, 2, and item 3, public records request monthly report. Seeing no questions or comments from the board, we move to item F1, update from the superintendent, Dr. Narcisse.
Thank you, President Tatman. Right before I start, I want to pass it to Board Member Howard just for a recognition.
Thank you so much, Dr. Narcisse, and this will be brief. But first, I would like the members of the Greater Baton Rouge and Baton Rouge Alumni Delta chapter to stand up for their recognition. So you guys. So today is, So today is Greater Baton Rouge Panhellenic Council Day at the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. We would like to take a moment to thank you guys for joining us today and thank you for your continued work throughout our collective community. We hope that today creates momentum for continued partnership for the advancement of EBR students. We also know that the representation matters, and we know there are many of our students that aspire to grow to be members of our collective organization. The National Panhellenic Council Incorporated represents historically Black Greek letter organizations and is composed of the Divine Nine. The members of the Divine Nine are Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and the Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. The NPHC promotes interaction through forums, meetings, and other mediums for the exchange of information and engages in cooperative programming and initiatives through various activities and functions. So we would just like to thank you guys for joining us today for this meeting, and we would like to think that this will be a continued partnership in collaboration with East Baton Rouge Parish. As a member of the greatest fraternity known to man, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, it is great to see Greek letter organizations coming to our communities and trying to continue to do what our founders wanted all of us to do, and through initiatives, especially through education. So we hope that this creates the momentum for us to continue to serve as a collective partner. Dr. Narcisse.
Thank you, board member. I just wanted to make sure if you're a part of the Panhellenic Council, no matter what group you're in, if you could just all stand so they can recognize. Let's just give them all a great hand. Thank you.
I think you ought to take a picture.
We could. Come on up. Why don't you come on up? Come on up. And I'll go ahead and just say, I just wanted to say thank you as you guys come up, because it takes a, many people don't see, I tell folks I may be the superintendent, but it takes a village to do this work. And since I've arrived as superintendent, I've just been very appreciative about all the community work that this group has done. There's so many people a part of the group that are not here, but it's just really important to be a part of a village that's working to support kids. So let's give them one more round of applause.
You didn't build a room to that.
So just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Wanted to say congratulations to Miss Adeline Guidry of Westdale Heights Academic Magnet. Adeline's one of 21 students of the year finalists selected from across the state. The 21 students selected include one elementary, one middle, and one high school student from each of the state's 7 regions. The finalists will participate in an awards ceremony on April 13th, when the winners will be announced for each grade level. Students are selected based on academic achievement, leadership skills, character, and services to their schools and communities. Congratulations again to Miss Adeline Guidry. We are extremely proud of you for making it this far. Let's give her a hand. Thanks to a generous donation from the Charles Lamar Family Foundation to our family engagement efforts, we'll be hosting our spring professional development training for all parent and family engagement specialists on March 22. The Transportation Department will be hosting an opt-in campaign for transportation for the 2022-2023 school year through the month of March. In order to efficiently and effectively serve all of our families, we are asking them to indicate if their children will be utilizing our district-provided transportation next school year. We will be sending home postcards to families, double checking our rider rosters, and we'll continue to follow up with families via text and calls to ensure we reach every family. Please visit ebrschools.org for more information. On Friday, March 25th and Saturday, March 26th, Park Medical Academy, in partnership with Baton Rouge General Hospital, will be hosting BRG's Day at the Park. Exploring the world of medicine, student and parent fairs, the goal of this event is to promote the upcoming Focused Choice School program that will begin in August 2022. On Friday, students at Park will have the opportunity to rotate through interactive stations where they will build a model heart, measure each other's heart rate, explore careers in healthcare, and observe models of the heart, lungs, ears, eyes, and more. On Saturday, parents and the community are invited to attend the event and learn more about the program, as well as engage in interactive stations focused on fitness, nutrition, emergency medicine, and kids' physicals. During the event, Baton Rouge General Medical Center will also promote job opportunities for parents and guardians. Each year, the Mentoring Matters New Teacher Induction Program celebrates the diligence of mentors throughout the East Baton Rouge Parish School District. These are mentors that have exemplified outstanding support to new teachers, along with the academic support and professional learning opportunities. This year, the Office of Human Resource and Support Programs and Retention had a total of 30 members to be nominated for this honorable recognition. A mentor from each school level was chosen from the elementary, middle, and high school level. The following teachers for the Mentoring Matters Induction Leader of the Year winners are: elementary school, Elizabeth Callaghan from Magnolia Woods Elementary School; middle school, Brittany Hinyard from Sherwood Middle School; and for high school, Rashada Jenkins from McKinley Senior High School. In addition to the Mentoring Matters Induction Leader of the Year Award, we're also celebrating the work of our first-year teachers. These new teachers have demonstrated a tremendous amount of growth in the teaching process and illustrate the ability to share their content effectively among students. The teachers also have exemplified great collaboration with colleagues and families while playing an active role in their community as well as within their school. This year, the Office of Human Resource and Support Programs and Retention had a total of 38 Year 1 teachers to be nominated for this honorable recognition. A new teacher from each school level was chosen from the elementary, middle, and high school level. The following new teachers for the Mentoring Matters New Teachers of the Year winners are: elementary school, Sarah Mizell from River Oaks Elementary School; Jacina Martin Colbert from Jefferson Terrace Academy; middle school, Toy Whitney Williams from Southeast Middle School; and from high school, Lucia May from Baton Rouge Magnet High School. Last but not least, as a part of our ongoing committee to recruiting and retaining top talent, we'll be hosting our Spring Fling recruiting event at Liberty High School on April the 2nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will be hiring for all positions, and we invite anyone who is interested in working with us to come learn and more. Last but not least, also wanted to recognize all of the multiple partners we have in the East Baton Rouge Parish school system that help our school system work. Without our partners, we would not be able to move this village of students. At times, people only see the internal folks that are in the system, but we have multiple partners from each of our regions. We just want to recognize them. Let's just give them a hand. And President Chapman, that is my report.
Thank you, Dr. Narcisse. We move now to item G1, board appointees from agencies, committees. Anybody wish to make a report? Ms. Bernard.
I just want to let all of our educators who are home viewing that BREC is beginning to recruit for the summer camps, and many educators staff those camps, and it's a great service to our community. So apply for those jobs online at brec.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Seeing no other board members wishing to speak, we move now to item H1, consideration of a request for the approval of the 2022-2023 school year calendar. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Goday, seconded by Mr. Ballou. Seeing no comments from the board, are there any comments from the audience on the approval of the 2022-2023 calendar? Seeing none, back to the, Ms. Dyson.
Yes, I just have a couple of questions regarding the calendar. Ah, there you are. I just first wanted to ask what has transpired since the committee of the whole meeting.
Good evening, everyone. As per your request, we did conduct the normal review, submitting to the leadership at all the schools the request for names for those who would give a comment on the calendar committee as normal. So they submitted those names. We submitted a copy of the calendar as well as the survey questions to them. And we also presented to the principal, teacher, and parent advisory councils and solicited their feedback as well. 85% of the respondents were in favor of the calendar as proposed. The one addition that we did notify all of them that would be made will be the addition of the state assessment dates. It was released after we submitted the calendar for approval. It was just released last week. So we'll need to add those as per the state calendar for assessments for next school year.
Also, let me get back to it. I wanted to ask specifically, I'm sorry, let's see, here it is. So in July, I'm looking at the calendar now, and I'm trying to understand. So it says certified employees return on 11-month, 10-month, on the different dates, support employees return, and then it said instructional leadership team. Is that a return? Okay, because it doesn't say PDC,
It's principal.
PD or,
Well, we're calling it an instructional leadership team because they're welcome to invite other members of their community, but it's really the principals.
okay.
In service week.
So it's just that they're doing it in service, but they're 12-month employees, so they would those be the days they come back? No.
That's just the
It's not a return for them.
Right. It was just a notification of when it was, when
Okay.
that week was.
All right. And what dates are the testing dates now that are going to be added?
They're across multiple months.
It's multiple dates. Like there's the pre-K through
Okay.
3 literacy assessments are done in October. They're due by the 31st. Then there's the window for LEAP 2025 for elementary and the window for high school ACT, as well as the high school LEAP dates. Those will be they're in multiple months and they'll be added to those months.
I just was particularly curious as to how we're going to navigate the testing that's done in April around our break. And are we going to test prior to breaking, or do they come back the very first day after a break and have to be testing? That is a little worrisome.
So the state gives an assessment window. And so what we do is we work with schools to establish a testing plan, and they will determine what will be the appropriate date to start the testing with the guidance from the central office. So some schools may start on that day, but most of them start after that. Yeah. But the testing window is defined by the state, and the schools themselves determine based on their population and numbers of tests that have to be administered in their building, when will be appropriate to begin the test in their building.
Okay, because it's just always been worrisome on that day after being off for 6 days of school and then getting back into the routine or being overtired from travel or whatever, and then bam, you're testing. And so one thing that I know children benefit from is kind of that review on just the testing skills. And I think that's so important to review with them. So thank you very much for your extended work on this through this 2-week period.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dyson. Vice President Collins.
Just want to say that while I will go ahead and vote for this calendar because it is more thought out, I do still have concern around teachers not having parent-teacher conference time carved out in the calendar. Just want to raise that up, and hopefully next year we can rectify that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. The board is clear. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Motion carries. The item is approved. We now move to the consent agenda. Mr. Godey.
Yes, thank you. The following items are to be approved as part of the consent agenda and are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as an item on the regular agenda for a separate vote preceding the last item on the regular agenda. 2, bid freezer Southeast Middle. Consideration of request for approval to bid for the purchase and installation of a 253 square foot walk-in freezer unit at Southeast Middle School. Strategic alignment, operational excellence, funding source, child nutrition program. 3, grants, federal. Consideration of a request for the approval of the following grants. A, ESSER 2 incentive, Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Grant in the amount of $4,102,672 to support learning loss. B, ESSER 2 School Choice, Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Grant in the amount of $500,000 to fund data-driven initiatives to support learning loss. ESSER 3 Incentive, American Rescue Plan Grant in the amount of $1,791,092 to fund data-driven incentives to support learning loss. Title III Set-Aside Grant in the amount of $10,000 to provide academic support for English learners. E, Homeless ARP 1 grant in the amount of $163,131 to implement instructional strategies in the classroom. F, Homeless ARP 2 grant in the amount of $556,117 to implement instructional strategies in the classroom. Strategic alignment, student achievement, exemplary customer service, operational excellence, and employee development. 4, Memorandum of Understanding, Baton Rouge General Medical Center. Consideration of request for the approval of a Memorandum of Understanding between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the Baton Rouge General Medical Center to provide a school health clinic at Claiborne Elementary. Strategic alignment, operational excellence, funding source, not applicable. Memorandum of Understanding, Southwest Louisiana Area Health Education Center. Consideration of request for the approval of a Memorandum of Understanding between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and Southwest Louisiana Health Education Center to support COVID-19 testing, strategic alignment, operational excellence, funding source, not applicable. 6, professional service contracts renewals. Consideration of a request for the approval of the professional services contract between East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the following. A, Amplify in the amount of $22,200 to provide professional development and support to implement state-mandated literacy screeners. Strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, ESSER 2, Action 2. B, ANET in the amount of $115,794 to provide benchmark assessments for grades 9 through 11. Strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, general fund. C, ANET in the amount of $390,492.24 to provide benchmark assessments for grades 3 through 8. and professional development support, strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, federal funds redesign grant, and/or educational excellence fund. D, illuminate in the amount of $199,018 to provide virtual management tool to house data, strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, ESSER 2, Action 2. 7, professional services contract. Consideration of request for the approval of professional services contract between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and School Leadership Center of Greater New Orleans in the amount of $50,400 to provide professional development for the Diocese of Baton Rouge Catholic Schools. Funding source, Title II, non-public. 8, professional services contract, compensation plan study. Consideration of request for the approval of professional services contract between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and SSA Consultants in the amount of $88,948 to provide for a compensation study, strategic alignment, operational excellence, funding source, ESSER 3. Number 9, RFQ, architectural design consulting services for Brownsfield Elementary. Consideration of request authorizing staff to issue a request for qualifications to seek proposals to provide architectural design consulting services for the new Brownfield Elementary School, strategic alignment, operational excellence, funding source, tax plan phase 4. 10, RFP transportation software. Consideration of request for the authorization of the superintendent and staff to issue a request for proposals for a comprehensive transportation software package, collaboration between the Transportation Department, the Finance Department, the Human Resources Department, the Purchasing Department, and the Technology Department to ensure that proposed software provides efficient interfaces with new system-wide software anticipated to be installed in the next 2 years. Strategic alignment, operational excellence, funding source, general fund. Number 11, summer part-time rate increase. Consideration of request to amend the summer 2022 salary schedule to approve a 40% increase in compensation of specified summer part-time employees. Strategic alignment, student achievement, exemplary customer service, and operational excellence. Funding source, general fund, and grants. Litigation. Consideration of a request for the approval of the recommendation from Gwen Samlin, General Counsel, East Baton Rouge Public School Board, in the matter of Henry C. Brown Jr. versus Kenethia Thomas in the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, docket number 695000, Section 24, 19th Judicial District Court, Parish of East Baton Rouge, State of Louisiana, and to provide for related matters. I so move.
Moved by Mr. Gode, seconded by Ms. Bernard. Anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Which one? 6. Any other board members want to pull any items from the consent agenda? So we're on the consent agenda minus number 6. See no comments from the board. Is the audience, anyone in the audience wish to speak on the consent agenda minus 6? Ms. Ware-Jackson. I'm sorry, back to the board, Ms. Ware-Jackson.
Thank you, President Tatman. I just wanted to speak to one of the items that's on here, the transportation software. I just appreciate so much the board passing this item because this new RFQ for this software would, if we get this software, it would help interface so many different departments and there would be such a substantial savings over time. And speaking of time, we would be able to shorten some time on some buses and potentially allow a little more sleep time for students, which will pay off in test scores and in discipline issues. And it may also get us one step closer to that later start times, across the district, to get closer to students, to get closer to having students be able to sleep a little longer, perform better, and have their body clocks match a lot better than starting at 7. So every little bit of this counts. And I'm also suggesting that the vast amount of money that we're going to save over time, that we would earmark that for funding for maintenance, because there's so many things across the district that we just don't have a maintenance budget for. So I'm hoping that the savings could go back to that department and help to fund the many things that we need at our schools that are currently not covered. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Ware Jackson. The board is clear on the consent agenda -6. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Thank you. We move now to item 6, consideration of a request for the approval of professional services contracts between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the following. A, Amplify in the amount of $22,000 to provide professional development and support to implement state mandated literacy screeners, strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, ESSER 2, Action 1. B, ANET in the amount of $115,794 to provide benchmark assessments for grades 9 through 11, strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, general fund. C, ANET in the amount of $390,492.24 to provide benchmark assessments for grades 3 through 8 and professional development support, strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, federal funds, redesign grant, and/or educational excellence fund. C, Illuminate in the amount of $199,018 to provide a virtual management tool to house data, strategic alignment, academic achievement, funding source, ESSER 2, Action 2. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Lannis, seconded by Mr. Goday. See any questions or comments from the board? Go to the audience. Any comments from the board on item 6 of the consent agenda?
Good evening. My name is James Finney. I trust before you approve this that you've all seen the fiscal note and you have a clear understanding of how much of the ESSER money is spent and how much remains. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Finney. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
That concludes the consent agenda. We move to item J1 under new business, discussion consideration of the Louisiana Rebirth Blended Learning Academy Charter application and related matters. Ms. Blunchy.
President Tapman, Vice President Collins, school board members, community members, as well as school system employees and parents. Good evening. I would like to introduce Ms. Katie Blunchy, our third-party evaluator for this year's charter application cycle. Ms. Blunchy worked for the East Baton Rouge Public School System for 42 years and has served as the district's third-party evaluator for the many years after that. She will go over her qualifications for this position and her evaluation methods during her presentation. The district only received one application during this cycle, and Ms. Blanche will explain and provide her recommendations to you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brickhouse, and good evening, President Tapman, Vice President Collins, members of the board, and Dr. Narcisse. I'm Katie Blunchy, and I'm pleased to serve as your third-party evaluator. I was very fortunate to have a career that spanned 42 years in education with many varied experiences. I was a teacher at Prescott Middle School, an assistant principal, a principal at Astruma Middle Magnet School and at Capitol Middle School, and a central office administrator in charge of middle schools. This is my 6th year as EBR's third-party evaluator. Next slide, please. Let's begin by talking about the process I use to evaluate the applications. The process is very important, ladies and gentlemen, in order to be fair to each applicant and in order to comply with Bulletin 126. The evaluation itself consists of the application review using the rubric designed by the Louisiana Department of Education, the interview, and the interview responses. In the application and interview process, the team looked at 4 major areas on the rubric for experienced operators: executive summary, educational program and capacity, organizational plan and capacity, and financial plan and capacity. According to the LDOE, applicant groups must meet all category standards, that's 100%, for the evaluator to advise that the superintendent recommend to the board to approve the charter applicant group. Next slide, please. EBR received 1 charter school application from the Community School for Apprenticeship Learning, which is an experienced operator. I read it thoroughly. The charter support team selected and scheduled the interview. The interview was conducted on February 21st, and it lasted about an hour. It consisted of 20 minutes for the applicant to make a presentation and 40 minutes for the EBR interview team to ask and answer questions. The applicant was given an opportunity to respond to the team's questions and clarify responses prior to my recommendation. Excuse me. As stated in Bulletin 126, the final evaluation and corresponding recommendations were made public 5 business days prior to the board meeting. The interview team had the charter application rubric adapted from the LDOE to guide their questioning. After the interview, I compiled comments from the discussion in the rubric into the evaluation. Next slide, please. The charter school interview team consisted of Kimberly Boudreau, Andrea Konsky, Kelly Lopez, Bianca Brumfield-Williams, Kashana Bridges, Erica Jones, Amy Norsworthy, Amy Pan, and Dr. Daisy Slan. So as you can see, the team had expertise in charter schools, curriculum and instruction, governance, and management and finance. To the interview team, I'd like to say many thanks for your service to this very important task. And also, Dr. Narcisse, thank you to your staff for their help, especially Mona Barnes, Peggy Leday, and Michael Dozat. Next slide, please. In keeping with the theme of process, I want to assure the board that the evaluation was handled with integrity and professionalism, as unbiased and as knowledgeable as I know how to be. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the applicants, CSAP. They were very professional, very knowledgeable, submitted their information in a timely fashion. Next. So President Tapman, if it pleases the board, I'll present my evaluation for the applicant with the summary displayed on the PowerPoint. The applicant is Louisiana Rebirth Blended Learning Academy. The home district is EBR. The applicant submitted a Type 1 charter, but seeks a Type 2 charter. According to Bulletin 126, the applicant must submit a proposal for a Type 1 or 3 charter to the local school board, be denied as evidenced by a motion or resolution of the local school board, and then submit a new application to BESI as a Type 2 charter. Therefore, the district served would be statewide. The proposed opening is 2023-24. Grade configuration at start is 9 through 12. Grade configuration at scale is 9 through 12. Enrollment at start is predicted at 250 students, and enrollment at scale is 518 students. The mission of Louisiana Rebirth Academy is to provide the individualized support adjudicated youth deserve in order to graduate from high school and go on to contribute to create a more prosperous society. CSAL is one of the oldest and most successful charter networks in East Baton Rouge Parish. They presently operate 4 schools: CSAL Elementary, which opened in 2020, CSAL Middle School with an SPS of 74.7, which is 0.3 of a point from a B, Madison Prep with an SPS of 85.9, which is a B, Louisiana Virtual Academy with an SPS of 56.3, which is a D. However, Louisiana Virtual Academy outperforms 2 other virtual schools in the state who have fewer disadvantaged youth. In 2016, Madison Prep was named the Blue Ribbon School of Excellence by the United States Department of Education. Of note is that CSAL educates approximately 74% disadvantaged youth. The proposed school addresses 3 key needs for the students they plan to serve: academic acceleration, social emotional support, and individualized attention. Because of CSAL's successful track record in EBR, and while the proposed school would be an asset to EBR, and with the permission of Mr. DeJuan Johnson, Mr. Lamont Cole, and the Board of Directors, I respectfully encourage you to deny this application so that CSAL may apply to Bessie for a Type 2 charter and serve the needs of students across Louisiana. Next slide, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any questions?
So I need a motion from the board. Ms. Ware-Jackson, what's your motion to deny? To accept the recommendations? Okay. And Mr. Lannis seconds that. See no comments from the board. Are there any comments from the audience on the motion to deny the charter application? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote on the
Please.
motion to deny the charter application. Go ahead.
Sorry. Please vote.
Make sure we were clear.
The motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Bunchy. We move now to item J2, consideration of a request for the approval of the recommendation from Gwen Shamlin, General Counsel, East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, in the matter of Adela Corley versus East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, docket 20-00022, District 5. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Goday, seconded by Mr. Lalou. Seeing no questions or comments from the board, are there any comments from the audience on this item?
Good evening. I know y'all didn't think I wasn't here. I am very much here tonight, and I love litigation. We should actually give Miss Corley what she asking for. I think it is very ironic that her name is Miss Corley too, just like me. But there is no relation, just for the record. So y'all don't say it's a conflict of interest. Every single time our school system have litigation, it is because we are failing to adhere to the law. And I always offer a wonderful olive branch to help our school system, even though it is always slapped, bent, broken, and never replanted by our school system, but I definitely make sure it's planted. Today is Corinth's birthday, and there is nothing more that he would like than to see our school system not be facing litigation over and over again. So please, honor Ms. Corley's request and pay her. Pay her. That one, the one that we're talking about today, not me. But when mine come forth, I'll definitely not speak and let y'all actually think about how you should pay me too. And for the record, that the document in regards to the records request, I requested a lot more than what was put on that document. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corley. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
We move now to item J3, consideration of and adoption of the resolution to adjust millage rates for tax year 2022. And Mr. Howard, I think you're going to read it, huh?
Be it resolved that by the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board of the Parish of East Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in a public meeting held today on March 17, 2022, which meeting was conducted in accordance with open meetings law and additional requirements of Article 7, Section 23C of the Louisiana Constitution and revised statute 47-1705B, that the following adjusted millage rates by and then they are hereby levied upon the dollar of the assessed valuation of all property subject to ad valorem taxation within said parish for the year 2022 for the purposes of raising revenue. A, for general fund, constitutional tax 4.98 mils, special maintenance tax authorized through 2026 roll 0.99 mils, special tax additional aid to public schools authorized 2023 roll 6.17 mils, special tax additional teachers authorized through 2024 roll 2.64 mils, special tax employee salaries and benefits authorized through 2024 roll 1.77 mils, special tax employee salaries and benefits authorized through 2028 roll 6.78 mils, special tax replacing reduced state and local receipts authorized through 2027 roll 4.73 mils, special tax employee salaries and benefits authorized through 2026 roll 5.69 mils, special tax employee salaries and benefits authorized through 2023 roll 6.82 mils, with a total of 40.57 mils. For B, ADAPP, special tax support ADAPP, authorized through 2026.68 mils, which an updated total of 41.25 mils. Be it further resolved that the assessor of the parish of the East Baton Rouge shall extend upon the assessment roll for the year 2022 taxes herein levied. The tax collector of said parish shall collect and remit the said tax authority in accordance with law. The foregoing resolution was read in full, and the roll was called on the adoption thereof, and the resolution was adopted by the following votes. I hereby certify that the foregoing is a true and exact copy of the resolution adopted at the meeting held today, March 17, 2022, at which meeting a quorum was present and voting, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this day, 17th of March, 2022.
Moved by Mr. Howard, seconded by Mr. Lannis. See no questions or comments from the board. Are there any comments from the audience on J3? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
We move to item J4, consideration and adoption of a resolution to set forth the adjusted millage rates after reassessment and roll forward the millage to rates not to exceed prior year's maximum millage for the tax year 2022. Mr. Howard, you're up again.
Thank you. Be it resolved by the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board of the East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana, in a public meeting held today on March 17, 2022, which meeting was conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Law and additional requirements of Article 7, Section 23C of the Louisiana Constitution and revised statute 471705B, that the taxing district voted to increase the millage, but not in the excess of prior year's maximum rates on all taxable property shown on the official assessment roll for the year 2020. And when collected, the revenues from said taxes shall be used only for the specific purposes for which said taxes have been levied. Said millage rates are: for general fund constitutional tax, the adjusted rate is 4.9.8 mils. 2002 levy is 5.25 mils. The special maintenance tax authorized through 2026 roll, adjusted rate 0.99 mils, levy rate 1.04 mils. The special tax additional aid to public schools authorized through 2023 roll, 6.17 mils is the adjusted rate. The levy rate for 2022 is 6.50 mils. The special tax for additional teachers authorized through 2024 roll, the adjusted rate is 2.64 mils. The levy rate is 2.78 mils. Special tax employee salaries and benefits, the authorized, authorized through 2024 roll, the adjusted rate is 1.77 mils. The levy rate is 1.86 mils. Special tax employee salaries and benefits, authorized roll 2020, authorized through 2028 roll, the adjusted rate is 6.78 mils. The levy rate is 7.14 mils. Special tax replacing reduced state and local receipts authorized through 2027 roll. The adjusted rate is 4.73 mils. The levy rate is 4.98 mils. Special tax employee salaries and benefits authorized through 2026 roll. The adjusted rate is 5.69 mils. The levy rate is 5.99 mils. Special tax employee salaries and benefits authorized through 2023 roll. The adjusted rate is 6.82 mils. The levy rate is 7.19 mils. The total for the adjusted rate is 40.57 mils. The total for the levy rate is 42.73 mils. Resolution 2 continued for ADAPP, special tax through ADAPP, authorized through 2026. The adjusted rate is 0.68 mils. The levied rate is 0.72 mils. The new adjusted total rate for the adjusted rate is 41.25 mils. For the levy rate is 43.45 mils. Be it further resolved that the assessor of the parish of East Baton Rouge shall extend upon the assessment roll for the year 2022 the taxes herein levied, and the tax collector of said parish shall collect and remit the same to said taxing authority in accordance with law. The foregoing resolution was read in full. The roll was called on the adoption thereof, and the resolution was adopted by no less than 2/3 of the total membership of the taxing authority voting in favor as required by Article 7, Section 23C of the Louisiana Constitution and revised statute 471705B. The votes were I hereby certify that the foregoing is a true and exact copy of the resolution adopted at the meeting held today on March 17, 2022, at which meeting at least 2/3 of the total membership was present in voting. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this day, 17th day of March 2022. So moved.
Moved by Mr. Howard, seconded by Mr. Goday. See no questions or comments? Yes, Mr.
Question for the general counsel. The resolution reads, the roll was called. Does our electronic voting take that, or do we actually need to do a roll call?
I would suggest doing a roll call. And this does require a supermajority, which is a 2/3 vote. Yeah.
We didn't do the roll call for the last one.
No, we're fine. Yeah.
So thank you, Mr. Goday. Seeing no comments or questions from the board, any comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Yes.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Yay.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Yay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Goday.
Yes.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Yes.
District 9, Ms. President Tapman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. We move now to item, oh, yeah, y'all can go. We move now to item J5. Sorry, what? Discussion and consideration of the removal from consideration of any of the 19 map plans that fail to meet the following criteria. A, all election districts must have a population within 5% above or below the ideal population, and B, the number of majority white voting age districts must not exceed the number of majority black voting age districts. Ms. Collins,
Yes, so after,
the motion first? Yeah. Okay.
thank you very much.
Need a
Thank you.
second. Who's going to, seconded by Mr. Howard. Okay, Ms. Collins.
Okay.
Vice President Collins.
Thank you. So after receiving lots of feedback from constituents, and after the previous publication of maps, in which I did initially say, okay, nice, you know, transparency, put them all out there. I did get sufficient feedback from constituents with concern about posturing maps that really wouldn't even be lawful as if we would consider them. So this is only to say, hey, let's go ahead and let the public know we're not really considering any maps that might not be lawful. And so that's the only nature of this motion, is to get us down to maps that we seriously considering so that the public won't be confused. And so that's.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I see no other comments or questions from the board. Any comments from the audience?
Thank you. I've asked the handout to be circulated to each of you. I have on this spreadsheet in front of you a summary of some of the characteristics of the 19 maps that were put into consideration earlier this month. The order I chose is mine, so you can put these in whatever order you like. On the left, or the left of some other things, I list the smallest population in each of the proposed districts for each plan and the largest population, and note the difference anywhere from 1,195 to somewhat over 4,000, and compare that to the ideal population, which is the total population of 387,014 divided by the number of districts. And what I highlighted are those that my understanding is that the motion would eliminate, and those are those that exceed 10% of the ideal population as the amount underpopulated or overpopulated. It's impossible using full census blocks to get exactly the same population, but there are a couple statutes and traditions suggest the 10% is a nice maximum tolerable amount. And in fact, the closer they are in population as possible, the more it respects the notion of one person, one vote. In the center block with the heavy outline around it, I just counted how many majority white districts there were in each plan and how many majority black districts. There are different ways that could be defined. I chose from Mr. Hefner's tabulations the percent of the voting age population that he identified as white versus what he identified as black. And I believe in both cases that includes Hispanics and includes only single race of each. And what I believe Ms. Collins, Vice President Collins' motion would eliminate is those where, despite the fact that there are more black residents of this school district than white, there are a majority of districts proposed that would have a white majority. And then over on the right, not particularly germane to the motion, is a tabulation of several common compactness measures indicating, without shading, those that are quite compact and the ones with shading are not especially compact relative to the others. I'd be happy to answer questions, but I only have 5 seconds left. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Finney. Any other comments from the audience?
Good evening, Tanya Nyman, 2 kids in East Baton Rouge Parish Schools. I just want to express support for this and explain and make sure that people that are in the audience and at home listening understand that there is a concern here that some of the maps would be in violation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And so certainly it doesn't really make much sense to recommend that they seriously consider those maps if they really shouldn't be ones that we would consider adopting. And so winnowing down the list and eliminating those, I think, is really a prudent measure. And I hope you'll support it without any hesitation. Thank you. And thank you for introducing it.
Good afternoon, board members. Good to see y'all again. I just have one thing to say about this redistricting dynamic. I love the fact that we have 2 great school board members, in Ms. Ware Jackson and Mr. Gode, and they really supportive of McKinley. However, I would like to see us be able to be represented like in a way where McKinley is situated in a district that is represented by the people, because essentially like we're kind of split right now. So however you draw those lines, can we get that taken care of? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb Holmes, the chapter organizer for Step Up Louisiana. The Parent Union of Step Up Louisiana finds that during this redistricting session, an opportunity for justice and equity has emerged, and to fulfill these values that not only Step Up, but our community supports, we must ensure that a new map abides by the following principles and encourage you to vote in favor of this measure. An accurate map based on the population, which is plurality Black, and considers the historical barriers Black citizens have had in terms of representation in the community. Number 2, an accurate as possible population deviation so that the representation can be as close to the ideal as possible. We find that the best population deviation is 5%, 5 percentage points plus or minus the ideal population. And number 3, that the number of school board members is raised to an adequate amount to reflect the governance of the EBR school system and the constituents it must serve. We highly encourage you to support the current measure and to consider these principles so that the redistricting process can be as fair, representative, and equitable as possible.
Hello, how y'all doing? I'm Caitlin Joshua, Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. I think I got this. So we will be submitting a statement or analysis by demographic designer Tony Fairfax. Anthony Fairfax is a geodemographical consultant and president CEO of the Census Channel. Since the early 1990s, Fairfax has provided demographic and mapping services with a concentration on census data and redistricting. He has been retained by the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice and has provided a pretty thorough analysis of all 19 maps. And so I will properly email each and every one of you his analysis, but also can provide a hard copy. Just wanted to read a few things from here. The document compares East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana proposed district plans plus the current plan using multiple redistricting criteria. The analysis uses the EBR school board redistricting criteria for comparison, including contiguity, one person, one voter, compactness, preservation of communities of interest using cities and neighborhoods, preservation of cores of prior district, protection of incumbents, state timelines, state laws governing precincts, precinct splits, use of physical boundaries, and census tabulation in blocks. It also has compliance with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Just wanted to skip along to his final summary because it is pretty lengthy. After reviewing the final plan choices using the best criteria index, the Finney 15 and the Ware Collins 11 were the top 2 plans. These plans had 6, 5, and 4 out of 10 best criteria totals, respectively. Each of these plans performed better overall than any of the other 17 plans that were analyzed. However, there are other plans included after the criteria elimination process. These plans consisted of the following: Finney 11, Finney 12, Finney 13, and Finney 14. Finally, in order to choose the final plan, the ultimate criteria may be determining the acceptance number of districts that the EBR school board desires. And like I said, we'll be happy to submit this into the record and send it to y'all.
Hi, Colleen Kissel. I have 2 kids in the district. Brought what you printed. This is a great item. A number of these, we would have problems, and I hope you all take the time to look at Finney's math, because I'm sure he did good math. I would note that a lot of these that are listed at public plans, or at least 3 of these, I know Board Member Bello had said that he submitted 3 of them. If we could get that amended on the website so that they know that those were board submitted and not public submitted. And I believe one of them is Public Plan 20, which is one that should be considered being removed, since it doesn't have a good difference of districts. And then I support the ones that I liked the most were the Collins and Ware Jackson and the Finney 15, both of which would put me in your district, Mr. Bello. Thank you.
Good evening, Catherine Carmichael, District 7. I have 3 children in East Baton Rouge Parish School System. I would like to thank Vice President Collins for acknowledging the constituents that she's hearing from. I don't know if you've ever read The Wisdom of Crowds, but a crowd of people is very, very powerful. This is a book, not a Kindle, but a real book. If you remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, did you just call one person? No, that was the wisdom of a lot of people. So I appreciate that the 9 of you are listening to the comments of your constituents and your voters. I counted the public comments online, and there's more than 100 of them asking for a certain map. And I asked to remove the spam. I asked the district to remove the spam from the public comments online. So I support the motion to let's whittle down from 19. If I'm going to make a purchase or make a decision, I don't start, maybe if I have 19, but then I get it smaller. But 19 is way too many maps for our public to deal with. And I'm sorry that we had to spend district money on the Advocate newspaper to print all those color maps. I'd like to know the cost of printing for all 19 of those maps. So thank you.
Good evening, Jennifer Harding, District 5. I'm actually here tonight. Normally, I am a parent of a student in EBR schools, but tonight I'm here as the president of Progressive Social Network, a grassroots organization that's been helping to keep the public involved and engaged in this process from the beginning. We definitely do support winnowing down these maps and appreciate the item from Ms. Collins, the criteria that's been put forward for that process. I just really want to lift up the fact that we have had no public debate by board members on any single map. It's great to winnow them down. I think the criteria is awesome. It's really great that Ms. Ware Jackson and Ms. Collins have been bold enough to put their names on a plan. And we have, members of the public who've been bold enough to put their names on a plan. But the remaining plans that are going to be left if this process is adopted, it really is important that the members of the public understand what your thinking is, what you're what you're valuing, what are you looking at when you make that final decision. Because all of these maps that are going to be left over are going to meet this set of criteria, which are great. So then you're going to have to make decisions based on something, that it's going to be more subjective, maybe, a matter of your own opinion. And so the public deserves to know what that is. And I really think it's a problem if you wait until the date of the vote to reveal that information. It does not give members of the public an adequate amount of time to digest your thoughts and opinions and provide you with feedback that you would have time to digest and understand. This process has been very confusing. It's gone in a very strange way from the beginning. And I think that you're only being held back by your own, you're setting your own rules, and you're only bound by the rules that you set yourself. You have the power to add more public engagement to the process, even at this moment still. So you do have the power to do that, and I encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Mike McClanahan, NAACP Louisiana State Conference President. Thank you, President Tapman and Collins and members of the board for at least engaging the community. I remember a few years ago when it was so tainted that we had no trust in the process at all. It was done behind backdoor dealing, and, somebody stopped somebody on the side of the road, jumped in the car and brought them to that kind of stuff. To be able to come here today and see, at least you publish maps. We thought if you publish so many maps, nobody would look at it. And then there's a motion by Vice President Collins to whittle that down. That's great. The public needs that. Educating our kids is too important. My son went to school here. My wife went to school at EBR. So we value education. I tell people all the time, of all the fighting we do, we should fight the hardest for educating our kids. And to see that we have persons really bringing forth ideas, great ideas, and being transparent. So don't let this day stop you from being transparent, because I come to tell you to applaud you all. Because if I can come fight you all, I can also applaud you all. But I'm going to leave you with this. We're prepared to sue. We've been prepared from day one to file a lawsuit, which will be costly, right? We need to take those dollars that we spend and litigate and put it toward educating our kids, because the future is not going to wait for them. They need to be ready. I brag about EBR all the time because I know it. I know what it can do. Let's do it. Short of that, you'll see the NAACP one more time. Thank you.
Hi, Fairleigh Jackson, District 5. I just want to be really grateful that we are actually having this conversation today. It's been months that many of us have been talking about maps, and it seems like this is the first time we're actually able to do it with you all as a board. So I'd like to thank the staff, Mr. Shamlin, Amy, April, everyone. Thank you for answering emails. Mr. Ballou, I may not agree with your maps, but you've owned them, and while I don't feel like they passed the Voting Rights Act, you owned them, and you did the work. Ms. Bernard, thank you for attending these public input sessions. Thank you. Ms. Collins, thank you so much for the work that you've done, the output, and this motion. I think it's very important. Mr. Tapman, I've seen you at almost all of these public input sessions. Ms. Dyson, you've been there too. Thank you. Ms. Ware Collins, thank you. As my representative, I'm sorry I bug you so much. Mr. Goday, don't really know you, haven't seen you at many things, but thank you so much. Mr. Howard, same thing. And I'll end with Mr. Lannis, and this is what I want to say. I want to thank you for what you said at the last board meeting. You indicated a shift of power, and that is not just it's a shift of power, but it's a shift of population. And we have to own that. We have to understand that this district is not what it used to be. We have to represent this district. We have to represent it well. And it's not just, I'm sorry, I know we go by DOJ Black, and I know we go by, voting population Black. We also have to look at the kids. And I know that that's not represented in the population that we're talking about. We have got to look at who we're serving. And so when you said at the last meeting that you would not support any map that did not represent that, I support you. I think many people support you in that. And I think this motion supports that. So I encourage you all to hear from your constituents, your fellow board members, and recognize what this district looks like and how it should be represented. So thank you all. Appreciate your work. Glad we're finally having this conversation. Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Mr. Ballou.
Thank you, President Tapman. I agree that we should be following the Voting Rights Act, specifically Section 2. And the reason I won't be voting for this motion is that I think we should continue to use the definition of Black used by the Department of Justice, which this motion does not do. And also, I'll just add, again, the 3 plans that I submitted were plans 12, 20, and 22. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballou. Vice President Collins.
If I could just get some clarity around what the motion does that does not abide by the, help me understand what you're saying, colleague, on the definition of Black.
This changes it to just the voting age population, 18 plus, which is not what
so it's,
the guidance we have from the Department of Justice.
So then okay, all right. It's sufficient for me to understand. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. Mr. Goday.
Yes, and just to clear up any confusion by the public, I submitted Plan X1, and I gave my permission to use my name on that plan weeks and weeks and weeks ago. Not that I think that plan will be accepted, because I was trying to do something different and just see how it worked and see how it came out, and it's in the mix. But I have nothing to hiding my name from that plan.
Thank you, Mr. Goday. Mr. Lannis.
Thank you, President Tapman. I just need some clarity. I'm looking at districts percentage 18 plus. When I'm looking at white versus Black, are we talking about seats and the way that those seats are going to lean? For point of clarity?
You're talking to me?
Districts, I'm sorry. Yes, the district seats and the way that they're going to lean, such as, are we talking, when I'm looking at, let's take Feeney 15, and I see white versus Black. Are we saying it's going to be 7 white seats versus 7 Black seats?
Yes.
Okay. So that definitely changes.
But.
I'm glad you said the but.
Be clear, you got to look at, that's not necessarily the total seats. So for example, Finney, 15-member plan, 15 total seats, 7 white, 7 Black, and it's just leaving it on the table because it's not necessarily in violation of the Voting Rights Act. It's not saying this is what we're rolling with. It's just, okay, this is not a clear violation of the VRA. And so seats 15. So for example, Finney's 15-member plan has 15 seats, 7 Black majority, 7 white majority, 7 Black majority, and then for lack of a better legal term, a toss-up district, which the details of are not necessarily on this chart, but it's just being clear that in terms of the majority white and majority Black seat, Does that clarify or?
It does, but I'll be honest, if it's a tad bit confusing for me to keep up with, I know it has to be confusing for anyone that's in the general public that's trying to keep up with this. So I must say, I have to agree, we definitely need more conversation around this. To say what those toss-up districts are gonna look like, because that's gonna be the hinge right now, is where the toss-up district is gonna look like, how many votes are gonna be inside of it, and what's gonna be the percentage of eligible voters. So if that conversation isn't happening, then we need to go back.
Okay, and so this motion does not stop that conversation. It leaves that on the table to say, hey, what does that toss-up actually look like? It leaves the 14, 13, 12, 11, Ware Collins 11, and the Hefner Plan 6 on the table to say, what do all the details look like? But it takes off the table ones that we know the VRA would not approve of 3 black districts versus 5 white districts.
Right.
You know, it's just taking the obvious violations off the table so that, and I doubt, while people may have been exploring various options, just as Board Member Gode stated, I doubt seriously any board member want to give serious consideration. In fact, Board Member Ballou stated he has no interest in violating the VRA. And so this is just taking those off the table that would violate, just as a gloss over, would absolutely violate VRA. And so then let's have longer conversations about the others. That's all it's doing. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lannis. Ms. Ware Jackson.
Thank you, President Tatman. You know, the board has been relatively silent on map selections, and our public entrusted us with the responsibility to narrow down the selections to just a few. Now, the last time we went through a redistricting cycle, we had maybe six maps, and some of us thought that that was too many. And I believe our demographer's goal was to get us down to 1 through several revisions, and we ended up publishing at least 19. I think that was the wrong thing to do, and it was irresponsible. Expecting people to weed through all of those maps with no idea what the board believes are true contenders is wrong. We have the opportunity here to right that wrong and give guidance, as we have in the past. People seem to think our goal is to confuse them and to hide our hands. When we hire an architect to design a building, we don't expect 19 plans for us or the public to consider. So why would we lower our standards here for such an important job as this? Let's give guidance and restore public trust.
Thank you, Ms. Ware Jackson. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, President Tatman. And I just wanted to clear up a couple of the comments made regarding the board's participation in this process. There is a plan that has certain board members decide to put their name on certain whatever. I have been very diligent in working with my colleagues to get points across. I have been diligent in working with my colleagues to talk about my preference. So just because my name is not listed as a Howard plan does not mean I've had a hands-off approach. Ms. Ware Jackson, Ms. Collins, and I, as in fact, we started this process together, working together. So I just want to clear up any misconceptions about boards, quote unquote, being silent just because our names are not listed on a plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. I'm going to speak now. I don't disagree with A and B. B is a little confusing to me because what does that toss-up district look like? It's going to be impossible to draw a district that's exactly 50-50 or 48-48. And so the question is, what happens then? And so I struggle with that a little bit, but I would tell you that the concept that I've talked about when my colleagues have talked about with me about it. And by the way, for the record, I see a lot of people at church and my community events, clubs I belong to. All the feedback I get is not just in this room. I'm very active in my community. I'm very active in my church, volunteer work. I work in a job where I have a lot of contacts. So I hear from a lot of people and so, but you know, the reality of it is when it gets down to it, I'm not voting for this. I'm going to narrow the maps down on the 30th. And so I appreciate and respect Vice President Collins bringing this forward, but I don't plan to vote for it. So the board is clear. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion fails.
The motion fails. We move to item J6, discussion and consideration of a process to adopt and publish a single redistricting plan for later ratification and related matters. Ms. Collins, you wish to make a motion? Moved by Vice President Collins, seconded by Ms. Ware Jackson. Would you like to make some comments?
Yes. So, no problem. Okay, so this, and I'll let my professor, my amazing professor during public comment, Ernest Johnson, make he's still here? He gone? Oh, shoot. Okay. You got it? Okay, I'm sorry. Well, so in the stead of my amazing professor, one of my my amazing colleagues in community service, Mike McClanahan explained the nature of this request. Again, this came at the behest of constituents and those that were concerned around with statutory interpretation and just making sure that we're in order moving forward. And so at the time of public comment, I'll let him go into more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Collins, and I believe we are in that queue. Public comment, any comments on item J6 from the public?
Good afternoon again. It's always good to be a part of the process that considers not only educating our kids, but the process that we use to get those that represent the community in bringing about change of good rules and regulations to educate our kids. In the redistricting process, we are governed by rules and regs. The school board, the school system is, and so we are of the opinion that the school system did not properly put out the maps and the wording that go along with the maps, talking about what the maps stand for. I think one of the school board members mentioned that too, is that what we did was that we published maps, 19 maps, but at the same time, you must publish the maps and put comments about what the maps are doing. So to the common, ordinary citizen that may have, as Mr. Mann stated, might have a couple degrees, is still confused. The law is clear that you must publish and comment at the same time. You can't publish in, sometimes look like it might have happened here, you publish in the Advocate and they put comments somewhere else down the line. They must be beside one another. So when I pick up the map and read the comments, I can do that and make an intelligent decision what y'all are doing. It's confusing. It's not in line with the law. And we're just asking you to abide by Louisiana Revised Statute 17:58.2, except it governs how this body should publish its redistricting maps. Failure to do that would wind up in costly litigation. It's too important for us to get it right. And so we have probably one of the best lawyers here on the school board is my friend, Gwen Shamlin. I'm just joking. It's a good friend of mine. But I would safe to say that, we need to rely on those. And if you are confused, contact Dr. Johnson, contact myself and others. We'll be happy to get you through the process. But as it has been done now, it fails to meet the statutory language and statutory guidelines. And when you do that, you run the school system upon a problem, because then you'll get the work done. And those of us that watch for that kind of stuff, we're preempted by filing some type of legal challenge to it. And so I want to make sure that we go through the process without any delays, because educating our kids and putting people in place that will represent the community that's educating our kids is too important. So I want y'all to consider what I just said, because I sent a letter outlining what I just said, plain language, so that you all can understand. If you have any problems, contact me or contact my friend, Dr. James Finney. Thank you.
Monahan, thank you. Any other comments from the audience?
Catherine Carmichael, District 7, 3 children in the district. I just want to clarify. We're going to carry the 19 maps forward? Is that what we're doing? I just want to make sure. So my daughter's on the swim team. And when there's a swim meet, there's 600 kids that swim in the swim meet. And then those kids that make the finals, there's maybe 100 kids that make it into the next finals. And then the fastest kids, there's 30 kids. And then finally, there's 10 kids in the finals. So I would suggest we do that with the maps. We have 19 maps now, and we don't have the top 3. We don't have the top 6. I mean, every other place you decide, you narrow it down, you whittle it down. So now the whole community is going to think we've been sitting on our hands for weeks. It is so frustrating. This is like my 3rd job managing the school board. Thank you.
Hi, Fairleigh Jackson, District 5. I think I'm confused. Do we have a motion on the table? Is that what we're commenting on? And the motion is, can you read it again before can I reclaim my time since I'm asking for the
We
motion?
don't answer questions. You can make comments if somebody wants to answer it. You can give her the time to make her comments.
Okay, thank you. So if we are actually commenting on whether or not to move forward with 19 maps, I think that the comments that Mr. McClanahan made were very pertinent. I will say I opened up the paper the day that the maps were published. There were 19 maps. There was no context. There was nothing. It was 19 maps. They were very pretty. You all spent a good deal of money, but there was nothing to tell me, if I hadn't been following this process, what these maps were about. There were not data tables. All of the maps were different. They had different data tables, and it was confusing. That doesn't meet the statute. You have a clear statute, and I'm sorry, an article published the next day does not satisfy that statute. It's plan in the statute, not plans. So when you do decide to whittle it down from 19 to maybe 6 to maybe something, once you decide that plan to be adopted, then you need to publish that plan. That's what the statute says. It says plan. And then the public has 20 days to review that plan and think about how that impacts them for 10 years. 10 years. This is a decade impact. Do not rush this. You had months to have these conversations, and you're having it tonight. It's time for you actually to take this into consideration, be thoughtful, and do it in the right way. Thank you.
Hi, Tanya Nyman, District 7, 2 kids in the public schools. And I'm going to read the statute. First, let me thank Vice President Dawn Collins for introducing this motion. And to clarify, everyone, it delineates a process to arrive at a single map, especially now that y'all forwarded all 19 maps, that on the 30th, you would choose one map from those 19, and that would be recommended to the public and then be subjected to a public review process to allow for that careful inspection and consideration and to hear your arguments in defense of the map that's recommended by a majority of the board. So I want to, as people have alluded to the confusion that's been created, I'm going to read the statute just as quickly as I can. It is a revised statute 1758-2, East Baton Rouge Parish School Board reapportionment election districts terms. Prior to final adoption of the apportionment plan required above or any future alteration, change, or rearrangement of school board election districts, the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board shall order a public hearing on the proposed plan, alteration, change, or rearrangement, and shall cause to be published in a newspaper published within the parish at least 20 days prior to the date of such hearing, the time and place thereof, a general summary and map of the proposed plan, and the times and places where copies of the proposed plan are available for public inspection. And so certainly I really appreciate Vice President Collins' willingness to delineate a process to help this board arrive at the selection or the recommendation of a single plan and then outline the process that will allow the public review process provided by statute so that you can ratify it at a meeting. I think May 5th is the proposed date for that special meeting for the final ratification. And so I wholeheartedly support this. I do think that it would also correct the error of publishing 19 maps without any general summary as required by statute, and the date of the meeting at which it would be ratified. All of that is required by statute to be published with the maps in the paper. And so you sort of kill two birds with one stone, right? You winnow the maps down on March 30th. The board recommends one map. You redo the public review process so that on May 5th, the board then ratifies that map after there's the opportunity for a public hearing and public testimony. I hope you'll do it. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
I was waiting to make sure I had your attention. I believe you owe Ms. Jackson an apology because I think her confusion as to what the motion is was entirely appropriate and reasonable. And for you to use your position of power up there and insist that we in the public are not allowed to ask you in the positions of power questions was a really jerk move. Furthermore, I'm not sure in your last vote you followed open meetings law because I'm old and it's a long ways to the screen and I don't want to wait for Charles Lucier's article to see if this was yet another 5-4 vote along racial and party lines against progress. So even though you insist you're not here to answer our questions or clearly to serve the public unless it is to your convenience, I would invite you to at least put on the screen for the benefit of the people that are in the audience and watching on the YouTube feed the results of the last vote so we can see who voted for a reasonable process and who voted for another 2 weeks of confusion. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Colleen Kissel. I have pulled up here the memo that is associated with this item, and I think you should approve it as it is a reasonable process to whittle down from 19 maps to ultimately one. It seems reasonable to do it this way rather than you guys doing it free for all. So I would ask you to approve this. I'm speaking now as Progressive Social Network of Baton Rouge. I normally run our voter guide website, brvotes.org. But for this item, we would like to offer our support in order to find the information on how this process will take place. Right now, you have to go to Board Docs, go to this meeting, go to J6, and download a PDF. That information, if approved tonight, needs to be publicly available to everyone in the entire district so that when we get to the meeting where you decide the maps, you know how everyone will be on the same page about how this process works out. We're all volunteers. We all are limitedly trained, but we will make graphics for you. We will publicize for you because this process has to be transparent for everyone, and everyone needs to know how you're going to get from 19 maps that you just approved to one map. Thank you.
Hello again. Jennifer Harding, District 5, this time speaking as myself, a parent. I wanted to apologize to Mr. Howard, although I will say that we're not mind readers. And so I appreciate you saying that out loud, because had I not been in the room tonight, I wouldn't know that you worked on that map, which happens to be my favorite map. So I appreciate your work on that map. The Ware Collins 11 map is awesome, and I really hope it makes it through this process. Okay, so having said that, though, I just feel like I also have to respond to you, Mr. Tatman, because there has been a process for public comment. We have had multiple meetings where the public has had an opportunity, according to you, an ample opportunity to come and participate and make their opinions known. We also have an online comment form where if people want to make comments where we can all see how they feel, they can avail themselves of that. They can also comment every time one of these items comes up to the board. I don't know what happens at the clubs that you go to, but I do know that the people who make it a priority to go to public meetings, to show up, to advocate for the schools that our children go to, our voices matter. We have done a lot of work. In fact, I would say that many members of the public have done more work on this redistricting process than some board members. So I take offense to you trying to say that our voices are not important in this process, and I think that needed to be said.
Caitlin Joshua, Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. Also do majority of my organizing work with PSN and WCP. List is kind of long. We've kind of created a coalition of family members and friends who are really interested in this process and really doing the work to send in their comments and be transparent about how they're feeling. So we consulted with a few of the group members as well as some of the attorneys that we work with, and we received some feedback around this specific agenda item, and we're all in agreement with it. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that. The school board should delay a final vote on a new reapportionment plan for the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board until the maps that the school board actually plans to consider and vote on are properly published in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 1758-2, which Tanya went in on. Which governs the publication requirements at the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board must undertake the reapportionment of the board. Accordingly, the school board should not take a vote on any of the 19 maps until 20 days after all 19 maps are published in accordance with this statute. Just wanted to reiterate that. According to the most recent census data, Black voters occupy the largest share, over 43%, of the voting age population in East Baton Rouge Parish, and Black children represent a supermajority of the student population served by that school board. Under most of the 19 proposed plans by the school board, Black voters and their interests would remain underrepresented and on the school board. Louisiana Statute 181945 sets out the no redistricting plan shall be implemented unless the shape files for the new districts are received by the Secretary of State prior to 4:30 p.m., 4 weeks prior to the date and the qualifying period opens. This requires the school board to submit a finalized map to the Secretary of State at least 1 month prior to the qualifying date for the school board members, which is June 21st. To reiterate, Louisiana Revised Statute 1758-2 requires the school board to be elected from these single-member districts and require in all elections occurring after 1982, the board to take a certain action to ensure public transparency and input into the reapportionment of the board seats. And I don't need to go on about that statute, but just wanted to highlight that since we discussed how in the newspaper it was just photos. That's not real transparency in the process, and I do think we need to revise that process in order to consider it true transparency for folks to understand. Thank you.
Good afternoon. If I must say so myself, this is a rather hot topic. So, on a serious note, we have to be extremely clear and definitive about the process. I've taken the opportunity to attend the meetings. In fact, I even asked questions to our demographer that our demographer could not answer. And it was extremely important that, that we had previous board members that were present that asked questions that the demographer could not answer either. Maybe the problem is the demographer, because we have to look at making sure that we do things in accordance with the law. Now, as many speakers before me have stated, that's extremely problematic, but it opens us up to litigation, where every student every day will not have the funding needed for an education. It's important that we think about that, because the children is who is going to be affected and impacted the most. Not you, but them. But you can be impacted too, because then that would mean that you won't get the votes of the constituents to remain seated on the board. And that also is important. I do enjoy each and every board member's company and the conversations that I have with you, but I also think that the children is supposed to be the goal, as well as the community. And listening to what the community has to say is extremely important. So I do think that, one, we should actually have real clear, definitive processes that we need to have published on board docs as well as in the newspaper. Number two, that we do allow some more opportunities once we have broken down the number from 19 to maybe 10 to allow public comment again on those 10. Then from there, drop down to 5 before we go to 1 and allow the public to give their comment on that. Then finally 1. This is showing clear transparency, but it is showing the public that their voices really and truly matter. And if you notice, I am very calm about it, because I'm speaking from my heart and from my child's heart, because this is who we impact and we affect the most, the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corley. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Attorney Shamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Tapman. Though I'm not a board member, I am sensitive to feedback and information from the public. I'm a public servant. So I've spoken to a couple of board members about this just prior to the meeting. I am going to recommend as general counsel that the board at its next meeting, or at the March 30th meeting, select one map that we then publish going forward for final ratification, and we'll follow the 20-day rule. I'm going to clarify that I don't believe that we are in violation of the law. And I'm going to say for the record that this process was designed to make sure that the public had full access to the inner workings of how the maps were put out there and what was available and what the options were. I shouldn't have to say that, but I want to make sure that that's said from my seat. I'm going to make that recommendation to the public. I don't think we need a motion to accomplish that. That'll be a recommendation from council. It won't affect the schedule, except that it'll add 20 days on to the current schedule before final ratification. So I want to make sure that was clear going forward, and I'll let you go next.
Thank you, Mr. Shamlin. Vice President Collins.
I want to apologize that I did not correct or explain, make sure it was clear to colleague Ballou in the previous motion about voting age population Black. That is U.S. Department of Justice guidance, and so it's presented on the material that our constituents shared. Districts percent 18 years of age or older is the same as voting age Black, so that information is not in violation of DOJ guidance. Additionally, while I'm on DOJ guidance, it's important for us to lift up, as has been lifted up before, and apparently needs to continue being lifted up, that DOJ guidance, as mentioned by our consultant, Hefner, is that the demographic, the guidance on how to view the demographics is single race white, not including Hispanics, any part Black, And as it relates to Hispanics further, Hispanics, according to DOJ guidance, if they so choose to add a race identification, then with a minority group in particular, then they are counted with that minority group, not with single race white. Right now, our backup materials, what we have online on our website, and the way we're viewing our maps is not accurate according to the DOJ guidance, which during our last board workshop on redistricting, Hefner said himself he would make sure it was clear and lined up with the DOJ guidance. And I just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
Ms. Ware Jackson. Thank you, Vice President Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Tatman. Thank you, Mr. Shamlin. You did make something clear here that we would be publishing this map once we come up with this, once we decide on the map on the 30th, correct? Right. And
That would be my recommendation to the board, yes.
I appreciate that because there's been so many things that have just been just a little bit confusing and so many things that have been questionable. I really would like to see us do what we can to sort of fix it, get on track, make sure that we do this. I do not want to be in violation of that statute if that's all it takes for us to do is simply publish that the way that it should be. And I believe that having some guidance about how we're going to select that would be a positive thing for the public to see us do this evening. So I believe that's the only thing that that may be questionable is the process in which we will narrow down to that one. Because on the 30th, we will be choosing one, not 10. We're not going to be going through that process all over again because we've already decided in the previous item that we are still going to stick with the 19. We're not going to narrow down anything. So I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ware Jackson. The board is clear. The motion is discussion consideration of adopt and publish a single redistricting plan for later ratification and related matters. Madam Secretary, please open the machine.
Please vote. The motion carries.
We move now to item K1, redistricting update. Is Mr. Hefner on the line?
I'm here, Mr. President. I went ahead and issued a memo on the, let me get rid of this echo if I can. I'm getting some feedback. I issued a memo response to some requests for some information to be included. It recaps a lot of the terminology that we use in redistricting, some of which have been used in the past meetings, understanding that at that point in time, for some people, it probably didn't have any meaning. Perhaps at this point, maybe it has a little bit more bearing. So I went ahead and recapped that. Also, I did an analysis of the various plans, just a high-level analysis. The ones that I've done, you've generally gotten memos associated with those and the demographics. I go in a little bit more detail because I author those and I know what the objectives are with regards to what we're trying to attain. Some of the others, I'm not the author, so I can't really speak to the finer details, but I can speak to some of the higher level stuff as to some of the more pertinent redistricting criteria. So I have that in the memo. In the interest of time, I don't know if you want to have me go through that. I will be posting it up on my cloud folder, and I'm quite certain that the district will also be posting that on the website to go with it, because it does have a lot of good information. But the main thing, I think the takeaway on this is that the primary criteria for the board is to make sure that any plan that they adopt, whichever one it is, does not do anything to diminish minority representation from where it is right now. It's what we call the benchmark. When we used to have Section 5 pre-clearance, and also when we do these in court, they always look at what your current districts are with the new population. You do not want to have a plan that's going to diminish that. If you can improve it, that's fine, but don't diminish it. Now, most of these plans, I think with the exception of one, we're okay with that. Some do a little bit better job than others, but that in large is the primary thing that we have to look at with regards to the board. After that, it's really a matter of how well does the plan represent the various areas of the parish or the district? Are they representing groups of people that have like interest? That's our communities of interest. Those are some of the things that also need to be considered as you look through the plans. But hopefully the information that I've provided will help you analyze it, whittle it down. I know we have a public input session coming up on the 26th. I'll be happy to address that to the extent that I can. And I'll try to leave no questions unanswered. I was not aware that I had not answered some questions. And if that is the case, then I certainly apologize for that. I will do my best in the future. But I'll open up to any questions you may have right now. But I have to say the previous agenda items pretty much is bringing us up to date where we are with regards to the process. Yes, it is a little unwieldy being 19. I'm used to more like 1 or 2 plans, but it's also, you know, it's the board's pure purview on how they want to move forward on it. So I respect that process.
Thank you, Mr. Hefner. Ms. Ware-Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Hefner, in one of my requests was that you would just go over, there were a couple of plans that at the last board meeting were put on the table, but we didn't really get to see any presentation on that. And, you know, there's so many I've kind of lost in the plans. I don't know if it was 8 and 9 or could you make comments on those in particular?
Sure. I sent you a memo out with regards to Plan 7. Plan 8 and 9 were derivatives from Plan 7. Plan 8 made a minor modification to 7 by shifting 2 precincts between District 6 and 9 and 2 between 7 and 8. And then we have a split precinct between Districts 5 and 7 to balance that out. It had a pretty nominal effect with regards to the overall demographics. Plan 9 took Plan 8. It made another minor modification by splitting precinct 321 between Districts 1 and 6. It slightly lowered the black percentages in District 1, but it increased the deviations in District 6 to a plus 6%. Other than that, it's the same as 8.
Is there anything more you can share about the memo that you sent out? Was it today that you sent that, or?
Yes, I had prepared it yesterday, and I believe it was sent to y'all today.
Seen that. What more can you share that's in that memo?
With regards to the plans?
Yes.
With regards to the public plans, those were all developed, with the exception of X1, they were developed after the last public workshop. I call them public plans because they were developed using the public Maptitude Online for Redistricting portal. That's why they were labeled as public. They didn't come through me. I was trying to distinguish it from that. All of the plans were pretty much related. I'm going to set aside X1 because that was kind of an experimental plan. Let's take a look at Plan 12, which Mr. Blue put together. It maintains the status quo with 4 majority black districts. Deviations all within plus or minus 5%. 12 was kind of the parent plan for 2022 and Plan 10. Plan 20, switched some districts around, some precincts around between 1, 2, 3, 4, and District 5. Those had some little adjustments from 12. It increased the minority percentages in Districts 4 and 5 with those changes. And the changes overall between 2 and 3 and 5, those districts were very minor and mostly were to balance out the deviations. Incumbents were all in the same districts. All of the plans were within the state statutes on precinct splits. 22 then made an additional change from 20. And it swapped had a precinct change between districts 1 and 6. 310 was added to District 1, and precinct 359 was added to District 6, and then 328 is split between districts 1 and 4. A little variation, but overall, the parent plan, the main plan is 12. These are what we would consider to be minor modifications or even tweaks. So those are the ones that were the public plans. The Finney plans have been out in circulation for a while. So he's addressed those at several of the public input workshops and has brought his maps, which I appreciate. And then we also have the 11-member plan that was put forward by what was labeled to me as the Ware Collins plan. That created 6 majority black seats for an 11-member membership. All of the ranges were within the plus or minus 5% range. The precinct splits were all within the allowable statute. So that's a good plan. If the board wants to go with 11, there's nothing wrong with that plan whatsoever. I don't see any fatal flaws with regards to it. It's just really more of a matter of the board's preference with regards to what I call, since the very beginning, since January 5th, is proportionality. I believe a fair and balanced plan should have the board represent the minority percentage, the black percentage that we have in the district. They're the protected class, which I define in my memo as they being sufficiently numerous enough and compact enough to create their own district. So they become the protected class. We have to make sure any plan has the ability for them to elect their representatives on that board to reflect what their needs and their interests are. And to me, the proportion works out to evenly split, 4.5, 4 black, 4 white, and then the last seat is a swing district or a toss-up district. The voters are generally going to decide who represents them in that district. That really reflects the overall plurality between blacks and whites in the parish at this point in time.
So when you're looking at proportionality, what numbers are you using? Which category of what do they call now? The at the very top of your demographics charts, we've got different kinds of categories. Which ones do you use to look at proportionality?
Originally, I used any part black because that's what a lot of us around the state are using and around the country are using now. It's been adopted by the courts with regards to voting rights cases. Doesn't seem to be an issue with it, but the actual technical guidelines from the DOJ has been consistent since 1990. Actually, I should back that up, since 2000 when the census started collecting multi-race data. And that is that you have and as it applies here, you have everyone that answered black as a single race added to everyone that checked off that they were mixed race, black and white. You add those two together, that creates what we call the DOJ black. The guidance issued by the Department of Justice says do not include the Hispanics. They consider Hispanics as a separate ethnic category. So they clearly say it's going to be a non-Hispanic DOJ black. That was the definition. By either of those, you still ended up with about 4.2 seats out of the 9 if you use the DOJ black. You use 4.3 seats as your proportionality if you use any part black. I used the any part black initially because it gave you a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more favorable calculation. But you only have a little over 4,000 people that make up the difference between DOJ black and the any part black. And that is almost statistically is insignificant. It's not enough of a difference out of 300 some odd thousand people to make any meaningful difference.
So I understand you're using either any part black. What's the other? How do you categorize the other race?
All you look at is your protected race. Everybody else is just, they're all lumped into non-black, non-majority black. You don't break out all the others. We do the single race white as a comparison, but the main thing that we're focused on in the Voting Rights Act is make sure that minorities have adequate representation and that they maintain their voting strength. So it's all centered around the protected class, so whatever it happens to be in that jurisdiction or that state.
So is it single race white and any part black?
Well, actually, we're using the strict DOJ guideline for these categories, which is a DOJ black.
Is it single race white? And
as a comparison, that's what I have listed. But the numbers that we have to focus on, the numbers that we have to defend, is what is the plan's effect on the minority population, the protected minority class, which in this particular case is black. Black being defined by the Department of Justice as anyone answered single race black or mixed race white black, those two added together. Any part black takes in other races that may have also checked off black. They might have checked off black and Asian, for example. It doesn't include those. It only includes those that checked off black and white on their census forms. And anyone that checked off single race black. It adds those two categories together.
So where do the other minorities fall?
They fall on the remainder of the seats. You don't break them out. They're not sufficiently numerous enough and compact enough to create their own districts.
They fall in the remainder of the seats.
The non-majority black seats.
The non-majority black seats. Do you all understand that? The non-majority black seats.
That's right, where the seats where blacks don't make up a majority of the population. The plans that I worked up have a plurality with one district where they're about evenly split between white and black.
So does that give the white count a higher count?
Well, whites are lumped in with all the other minority races that are not sufficient enough to create their own district.
Say that again? Did you say whites were lumped in with the minority races? How in the world?
They're added. Those are all the leftover ones. Once you parse out the protected class, which is the black population, that's what you have to make sure that those are represented on.
So you telling me that you're adding to the white population when you're looking at proportionality?
Proportionality is based on the protected class, which is the DOJ black. That percentage times the number of seats, that gives you the ratio. That's 4.2 seats. We need to try to keep a plan, adopt a plan that tries to maintain that ratio, in my opinion, as a demographer. From the DOJ analysis and Voting Rights Act analysis, you just have to make sure you don't adopt a plan that brings you less than what you currently have, which is 4 seats. I'm trying to improve that with some of my plans.
So how does that improve it if you're adding the other minorities to the white count for seats?
We don't look at that for reapportionment purposes. We look at, in Louisiana and in this parish, we look at what the DOJ black numbers and percentages are for reapportionment purposes. That is what we look at. It all centers around that.
That's about as clear as mud when you're talking about the number of seats and we're talking about white seats versus minority seats.
Well, all right, let's say you take the 38% white, you multiply that by proportionality. What are you going to do with your leftover seats? You don't have enough black population to take it. You don't have enough white population to take it. you don't have enough minority population other than black that's sufficiently numerous or compact enough to be able to create their own district. So what do you do with it?
Well, you don't give it to the white seats.
It goes to everybody else that's left over. Everybody that doesn't fit the GOJ black.
Everybody that's not black? No, that does not make sense, Mr. Hefner.
Well, I appreciate that observation. I'm just trying to explain it the best way I can.
Well, okay, next question is around your, of these plans as our demographer, which of these plans would you recommend that we seriously consider?
If you're asking my opinion, then, and I believe you are.
Yes.
I believe that we should try to have a plan that's proportional, which would add a little bit more on the white edge, on the black edge than on the white. Personally, I like Plan 7. 8's pretty good, but 7 is probably one of them that I like the best. All of them have little tweaks to them. Illustrative Plan 3, after I got comments from the various sessions that we've had, it really wasn't too far off, but I think 7 does a little better job of representing the various communities and school areas that y'all would like to see. 8's okay. 9, the only problem I have with 9 is it tends to get a little bit further out on some of the deviations. And I just want to make a point on the deviations for parish and municipal levels. The plus or minus 5% is certainly a guideline. It's a safe harbor guideline, but the original court case where that came out was dealing with state legislative and congressional districts back in 1964. So as state level redistricting goes, it is absolute. It's 5.0%, not 5.1, not 5.2. But because parishes and municipalities have less geography to work with, and their census numbers may be constrained by that geography, they generally have some leeway with that, particularly in areas they're trying to maintain minority populations to keep the representation up. Sometimes we'll have deviations that are up in the 8 or 9%. I've seen some as high as 13 and 14. I've seen other demographers have deviations as high as a 22% deviation. Mostly it's to try to maintain minority voting strength. It's a guideline though, and it's a good guideline. But I would hesitate on tossing out an otherwise good plan because it might be slightly over a 5.0% deviation. You got to kind of look at it in the context of the whole. And I know it's hard to do it with 19. But that's what I tried to do in my summary, just kind of give you the idea what the differences were from one plan to the next.
Well, I appreciate your comments on 7, 8, 9, those recommendations out of the 9-member plans and looking at the 11-member Ware Collins plan. However, I do not agree with your math on proportionality. It sounds like you are adding a minority to a majority to keep a majority white counts on these seats. And I don't think that's right. I don't think, I think we need to question that seriously.
Well, you have the documentation, Ms. Ware, you have the documentation from the Department of Justice. You can read through that. Anybody else can read through it. It's very clear on how the protected race is to be calculated, and that is how we have calculated it here.
It doesn't sound like the protected race is being protected in that type of scenario. So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Hefner.
Board Member Gode.
Thank you, Mr. Hefner. Just a quick question. I'm a little bit confused because I've heard several different numbers be thrown around. As we look at the redistricting populations, are we supposed to be looking at the total population or the 18 or the voting age population? Which set of population numbers are we supposed to use?
The total population.
So it's the total population is what the DOJ looks at and what we're supposed to use.
That's what the Voting Rights Act requires, and that's what the courts have validated even as late as 2016.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my only question.
I just want to say that I do concur with the comments of my colleague Evelyn Ware Jackson. The calculations and the process of protecting the protected class seem a bit odd. And we shall continue to work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. I don't see any other questions. Mr. Heffner, thank you for being with us this evening.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. We move now to item L1, announcement of meetings. Ms. Bernard.
Published redistricting maps can be viewed at the Central Office Boardroom or on the following days and times: March 18th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., March 23rd, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., March 24th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., March 28th from 9 a.m., March 28th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Redistricting public forum to be held on March 26, 2022 at 9 a.m. at the Instructional Resource Center, IRC. Some or all board members may attend, not an official meeting of the board. Public hearing redistricting to be held March 30th, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the Central Office Boardroom. Special meeting approval adoption of redistricting plan to be held March 30th, 2022, immediately following the public hearing at the Central Office Boardroom. Committee of the Whole to be held on April 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the Central Office Boardroom. Regular meetings to be held on April 21st, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the Central Office Boardroom.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Mr. Godet makes a motion. Adjourned.